Welcome back once again to A Blank Screen. There we are, Kevin Pollak's Chat Show. Thank you, as always, I Am Chat Show. Again, that's just great vodka. How come we never got Danny Aykroyd's Crystal Head?
Yeah, Crystal Head vodka.
Why don't we get Dan Aykroyd, and while we're at it, Harold Ramis?
Well, it all is about Harold Ramis for some of us.
Well, that's all I live for.
Welcome back to episode 175. 175, Sammy. They said it wouldn't last.
Hey, I said it wouldn't last.
Well, it was, when I said they, I meant you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And mostly because of my involvement, let's be honest.
Well, also your demands and your wishes and hopes. By the way, I got your new writer. What the fuck?
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Can you explain a couple of these things?
Well, what do you want to know about?
Fish.
I'm on a diet.
Right?
I have to have fish, and I have to listen to the band Fish for 1 uninterrupted hour before every show. You know that.
Yeah, but I'm not going to get you the special new Bose just so you can actually listen and dial into
look,
Fish.
do you want me to be a part of the show or don't you? Because
I do.
If I'm going to listen to it, I
do.
have to be able to hear every lighter in the crowd.
Right.
Because they don't have any studio albums. It's all live.
And you want all of Van Halen's M&Ms?
Yes.
I understand.
All the brown ones.
Did you ever hear why they did the M&M's
I do not know.
thing?
By
It was
all
on
means,
O&A.
enlighten me.
You probably heard it on O&A.
I think I knew this prior.
What do they call him on O&A? They like to have David
Oh,
Lee Roth.
Diamond Dave.
Diamond Dave. Boy, they love to have David Lee Roth on. And it's fucking hilarious. And he actually got to the point. Jamie, what is your recollection of the reason?
I actually learned this because when I was finishing up my college program at the Point Park University, some famous alumni, Dennis and Jimmy Miller, and myself. Anyway, but they were just introducing a entertainment management major. So I took a couple of classes as electives. And we learned that it was because people weren't reading the contract writers.
That's exactly right.
So that's why they would put crazy stuff in them to make sure that people were reading them.
It wasn't really a thing.
It wasn't a thing. They were just making, people weren't reading them.
They weren't reading them. So, but more to the point for Diamond Dave was if they put something in there that the people didn't catch and didn't have waiting for them in the dressing room, they could not do the show.
Oh.
They could legally go home. And that's why they put the crazy shit in there, so that they could not have to perform. And just say, sorry, folks, they fucked us. And now we have to fuck
Because
you.
the teacher of the class was like somebody that they booked bands or something, and one of some hip hop group. I don't remember who it was, but they had to have like some special sort of cognac, and he could not find it in any of the liquor stores. And they're like, "We will not go on stage if you do not find this cognac." It's
weird that you would say cognac and hip hop in the same
I don't remember who it was. I wish I could remember. I honestly don't remember.
paragraph.
Well, I'm glad you got me the Bose.
Yes, I
So
did.
I
And
would
Sammy, they're just the Bose earbuds? I hope that's okay.
That's all right.
All right. Are you watching us live on the YouTube? How are you watching us? We want to hear from you. Write to us at contact at kevinpollackschatshow.com. We hear from people all the time. For example, we have people now writing in and winning once again the Larry King game, but also writing to us to tell us how they do the damn show. This one from Larry Pendon. Am I not getting all the names? Is it P-E-D-E-N? Pendon. Pedden. Larry Pedden. Huge fan, he says. 6'5", 300 pounds. Not kidding.
That is a huge fan.
Yeah.
You see what he did was...
He's a literal fan
Yeah.
as well. And just wanted to say, after watching The Littlest Suspects on Netflix, I looked you up on IMDb. That's sad and pathetic for me. To learn more about you and your filmography, I discovered Kevin Pollak's Chat Show via that search engine. I've spent 12 hours this weekend watching selected shows on Hulu. I've never laughed so hard or learned so much about your guests and, in quote, the industry. Very impressive show and variety of guests. I've set my phone alarm to catch your show live each Sunday. If only we kept the exact same time every Sunday. Keep up the good work. Thanks all. Big Larry. Big Larry. We heard from Big Larry, who also sent in a Larry King game and is now going to get a T-shirt. So Big Larry, write to us again at contact@kevinpollackschatshow.com and give us your shirt size. I'm assuming Jai fucking Gannick, and your address to ship it to. His Larry King game goes like this. Learned from my tailor this week that the suspenders do not go down the back to hold the thong taut. Hello, Gun Barrel City, Texas. Thank you, Big Larry. Enjoy your tent of a T-shirt.
You see, because he's big.
It is because he's big.
We're just going to stitch 2 larges together, right?
We have double XL. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah, they cost extra. I passed that expense on to the guest.
On to Big Larry.
No, the guest pays for it.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. At the very end, I hit him up for $5.
That's fine.
I probably shouldn't have said that in front of our guest today. We're going back. Oh, here's the news I wanted to get to. Thank God I wrote it down so that I could search for it and find it. Big news indeed. We've been telling you about how excited we are to be on the Earwolf Comedy Podcast Network. It means a great deal to us, those of you who like to listen and refuse to see the show, but enjoy it from an audible sense of one's enjoyment. The Earwolf has been every other week. It's been very frustrating for our fans for the first 3+ years, if almost 4. They got the show every week. We would do it live Sunday. It would be up by Monday night or Tuesday morning. So we experimented a little bit with Earwolf by going every other week, and thank you for your responses. Very much appreciated. And once again, we adhere to your wishes. We will now be dropping a new episode every single damn Tuesday. Every single damn Tuesday, starting this Tuesday, for those of you watching us live. Otherwise, it's confusing. But every Tuesday, Michael C. Hall.
Every Tuesday, Michael C. Hall?
Every Tuesday.
All the time.
I've decided.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm going to keep doing new shows
and
just keep loading up the Michael C. Hall until people stop watching Dexter.
It was a great show.
Take back your lives.
All
right. No, next Tuesday if you're watching live. Otherwise, look for a new show every Tuesday. Michael C. Hall will be the 26th? What's today? 23rd? Mm-hmm. That would be math of 25th. 25th. Is it Tuesday? Why am I thinking now Wednesday, Josh Nagrin? It's Tuesday, right?
It's Tuesday.
It's got to be Tuesday.
It's got to be Tuesday.
That's what you wrote in the email.
Well, thank you.
Kenny made a nice little graphic.
Kenny made a hell of a graphic, which I'm going to save for the Twitter announcement of every Tuesday, and then I'm going to put out the photo that Kenny did.
Kenny would just apply himself more.
Yes. All right. Jamie, Mad Men, last episode tonight.
I know.
So you'll do your second to last podcast of the season tomorrow.
I found a photo of my new boyfriend, Ted Shaw.
And then the
Kevin
final.
Ram. Look at this, next to my old boyfriend.
Do you want to hold that up to the camera? So
Look. So we got my old boyfriend Ben Schwartz next to my new boyfriend, Kevin Ram, who plays Ted Shaw on the Mad Men. Love him. That's it. That's all I got.
That's all you got?
I ripped this out of a magazine in the lobby. I don't know what I'm doing.
I appreciate the effort. I do. And also, I appreciate how much fun it is for me to hear you talk about other men. I'm never going to get tired of that. Upcoming shows you may enjoy: the creator showrunner of Arrested Development, Mitch Hurwitz, creator showrunner.
Why do you insist on saying it in the German?
Hurwitz.
Yeah.
It's the Jewish. I'm saying it's the Jewish.
Are you?
Yeah.
Okay. Just want to make
it's
sure.
Hurwitz. It's Mitch Hurwitz.
Okay.
Thank you.
No, I know. It's fine that you're joking, but you've said it every single time. So now I don't know if it's a joke or if you don't know.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Often it is a case of me not knowing. Okay. So thank you.
It's the only reason.
Thank you for having my back.
I got your back on the air.
If that's what that was, I'd like my back.
Wow.
Also, creator showrunner of the show Hannibal, Brian Fullervitz.
Yeah. That is correct.
And the always delightful Bonnie Hunt, the ever growing Brad Garrett. He told me he went to a doctor recently, and the doctor said, "You're still growing." He's in his 50s.
That sounds about right.
He's not going to stop till he's 7 feet. So very excited. We've been talking. I've been talking to my guest today about coming on the show for a while after appearing in one of his multi-viewed, damn near 2 million views YouTube videos. His uber hit Freddie W. YouTube channel has damn near 6 million subscribers, if you can wrap your brain around that number. And his latest web series, Video Game High School, has 36 million views. Hello to Freddie Wong. How are you, sir?
Good. How you doing?
What the hell?
What?
Are you sponsored?
No.
Oh, okay.
Not. No, I'm very carefully
thanks.
angling it.
Oh, look at you.
Way so that
Yeah.
Perfect.
Well, thanks, man, very much for joining us today.
Yeah, absolutely.
My first question out of the gate there, after I list these numbers, which can't possibly be tiresome yet for you to hear. The one that we did together
Yeah.
got almost 2 million views, which apparently is just a massive failure. Based on all your other videos that get at least 7
Well,
million.
to be fair, it's a different kind
Oh,
of
yeah.
video than what we normally do.
Absolutely.
And as creators, it was for me probably the most fulfilling one to have done because it was an experiment that I've had for a while, like in my head,
Right.
kicking around, and just the confluence of events. So as far as like filmmaking goes, it was the most like satisfying one probably of all the entire catalog, to be honest, because that was like probably the most fun we've ever had shooting anything.
Well, that's exactly that quote I put in my resume. When I meet with directors
little
on new
dash,
films,
yeah.
I say, this was Freddie Wong's most satisfying experience as a filmmaker.
And then
No, but let me ask you, because I know the guy was put under. I saw it happen. I
Yeah.
saw the previous videos of the hypnotist putting the guy under. And do you think, even though you start the thing by saying almost like a disclaimer to your fans,
right,
look,
right.
This is real, and your fans know that too is not something you go out of your way to say because all your other videos are so fanciful and
right. No, it's not something that I would.
Right?
It's the only time I've ever made that disclaimer.
So do you think that they thought you were fucking with him? Because I always had this feeling like if you don't buy that he's hypnotized,
It's not interesting.
It's not only not interesting, if I may, it's instantly lame.
Yeah.
Because then he's just a guy improvising
Yeah.
and not well.
No, not at all. In a slightly drugged up, apparently, state. That,
Yeah.
No, I think that, so there's always that question. It's always going to be there. It's always like whether or not...
Can't get away from it.
You can't get away from that even in like live hypnotism shows.
Right.
Like, have you ever gone to those like in Vegas or
Yeah.
you know, your prom or whatever, wherever live hypnotists gather and ply their trade these days? But that's always the question. As soon as this person comes back, everyone goes, yeah, you were just fucking with them, right? And like, no, that was, you know, you can't ever get around that with hypnosis because it's so far out of the realm.
Even though you're watching it, your brain doesn't accept it as real.
Yeah, no, and I think it's for us, the thing for us is just seeing him, just knowing him as a Dan, the guy who's under, intimately.
If you could just tell the 2 million people one at a time, look, you got to meet this guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
well, you know, we have a plan now. So we're thinking maybe we do this live. We do a live stream and we try something similar.
Right.
Because there's definitely something to be said.
Well, that's just it. The cutaways, forgive me for interrupting, but the cutaways of your friends watching from the sidelines was my favorite part of the believability factor.
Yeah.
Because their expressions, you know.
Right. No, you can't. It's
so real and
it's
genuine.
It's from people seeing someone that they know act a certain way and like, this is not him at all. He's really freaking out about this. Yeah.
Right. And then maybe get testimonials the way they do sometimes with paranormal activity movies, you know, where they get testimonials of people coming out of the theater.
Hidden cameras.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm actually on a testimonial, a outcome. This is way before everything. Coming out of the theater for Rambo.
Oh, Jesus.
The fourth Rambo movie.
Oh, I was going to say, what were you, 6?
No. Yeah. That was great. Coming out of the theater, there was some movie channel or something, and they got myself and a bunch of people who people might recognize from the videos that we do talking about the latest Rambo movie.
Holy shit!
And I think they had asked which one was better, you know, was Rambo or the First Blood part, you know, whatever, which one was better. And I think I compared it to like Sophie's Choice, you know, like it's one or the other. You know, you can't pick one or the other.
Really?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, but those things are so ridiculous. I don't believe any of them ever. The testimonials.
But if you do this live thing,
yeah.
Which I do think would be amazing.
I mean, I think it might be worth a shot because then you can have. Here's what you can do with that.
We could stunt cast it with real Jason Statham's.
Exactly, but here's what you can do with that is that you can react to what people throw out. So if somebody in the chat room or in the audience says, "Hey, we want him to do this,"
right?
You can say, "All right, we'll do that," because then it's much more interactive, and two, there's less fakery going on because nothing's pre-planned. You're just like, "No, I'm just going off of what these guys are saying, and everybody wants to see this happen. So all right, we'll do it like this," you know?
Right.
So I think that's a possibility, but you're never going to get around that. I mean, For the record, it is 100%.
Even if you did it live. Oh, excuse me. For the record, yes,
100% genuine.
Yeah.
The guy cannot act his way out of a paper bag. He would have if he's such a connoisseur of movies that if he would see you right away, he'd recognize you, and he would instantly just be like, "Whoa, oh my gosh!" and he would like lose his mind if he had actually because we kept this a secret from him.
I remember it was one of your concerns that if he wasn't completely under,
that's what we were testing. Yeah,
he would have immediately broken and said, "Kevin Pollak, what are you doing at our
studio loft in downtown?"
Yeah. Well, it was pretty cool and amazing to see that world, that behind the scenes of sort of your funhouse
Yeah.
of a production studio.
We've had one of our writers, one of the writers of Video Game High School, compare it to like going over to a frat house, essentially, a nerd frat house.
Yeah, well, it's the state-of-the-art version of that. You know,
Right,
instead of
right.
the broken down residential home that you see in those frat houses off campus, it's nice that it's an industrial sort of loft.
Yeah, yeah. It used to be an old paint factory, was actually what it used to be. And then actually, when we moved in originally, there was network cable everywhere. We're like, what was this? And it was like a graphic design firm in the 90s. We're like, we can't imagine. There were cubicles and stuff. It was such a strange,
Right.
a weird history.
So, what was the? I mean, after the World Series of video games and the Guitar Hero that all your friends know about at this point ad nauseum, what was that moment of fuck it? Let's just go
do
for this.
online, yeah. Well, so to kind of trace it back, we were doing freelance visual effects for a while.
Right.
We were doing freelance visual effects for direct-to-DVD movies, which is like the lowest possible tier of freelance visual effects. It was myself, Brandon, the other guy who co-created the channel with me, and Sam and Nico, who were, they run the channel themselves. So we were all living in this loft, and we were doing really bad freelance visual effects. So things like, I think we did the cleanup effects for Brittany Murphy's last movie that she was in, and they used the fact that she had died as a big selling point. Like, great, fantastic that we're associated with this.
It's a proud moment.
Yeah, it was not very high on that list. Like awards show titles, just things like that, and it was very unfulfilling in every sense of the word, because the process is very much like, hey, could you guys do this? And then it's like, well, how much you have for that? It's like, oh, we have like $200. It's like, are you kidding? Like, this is going to take 3 days solid, and that's all the money that you have.
Yeah.
I remember one particularly. There was sort of an indie film, and they had a guy who was standing in front of a window, like pounding on the window and screaming at the character inside. I'm like, okay, you see that guy out there? We want him to be on fire.
Sure.
Which is like fire being like one of the hardest things. Even like full-on blockbusters can't get fire to look right, because it's such a intimately complicated thing that burns. So like, this is a minute-long shot of a guy waving his arms around in fire, and well, how much do you have for this? Like $250. It's like, are you kidding?
Yeah.
So it was not fun at all. It was just not at all anything that we wanted to do. So that 2010, that spring, a friend of mine told me about this contest that Samsung was running for the Winter Olympics, and we're going to get there. This is kind of a strange deviation. So we're running like a contest for the Winter Olympics, where it's like, you could go and you could shoot video and make little videos about the Olympics, and we'll send you to Vancouver, and you'll be there at the Winter Olympics, and you'll get tickets into events and things like that. So we entered into that, and he and I got in as one of the teams to compete in this thing. And in that process,
You got in based on some of your work. You had to
no,
show them.
there wasn't no work. There was just a little pitch video that we put together.
Oh, nice.
So in the process there, we met another YouTube partner. So this guy by the name of Daystorm, who was he's a musician, he's a rap artist, like really just awesome guy. And I started talking to him because I was like, oh, you're a YouTube partner. And at the time, I was like, what does that mean? Oh, it means you can make money from putting things on YouTube, and there's advertising, and you can get a portion of that. And I just grilled him about like everything. Like, well, how does it work? How often do you have to put things up? How many views do you need to get to be able to sustain? Okay, if my rent is this much, like just getting all the numbers for it. And he was very gracious, like, oh, you got to do this, and this is how I do it, and here's some of the other guys that do it like this. And we came back from there and saying like, all right, it's feasible.
Right.
What he describes as feasible to make a living off of.
Right.
So at that time, Brandon and myself, he and I had been watching stuff on YouTube for a very long time, being like, all right, well, let's do this. Let's make stuff that we would want to see, and let's go. Let's just go. And so that first week, I think we did like 4 videos. Like once every 2 days, we would come up with some idea and just shoot it and put it up, and then I don't even really think about how it was doing. Just on to the next one. It's just an orgy of just video making.
And you would launch it onto a site, onto a page of YouTube channel that nobody really knew about.
People had kind of known about it because way earlier, the Guitar Hero video that we made, the very first Guitar Hero video that was in college years back, the Rush one, where I played a Rush song, was on there. And so there's some people who kind of knew about it, but nobody was checking there constantly to see what new hot Guitar Hero related.
There's no expectations of what you're going to do next.
No, not at all. Right. So when we put it up,
but you at least had that. That's important. You had this foundation.
Yeah, it was a foundation. I think it was probably about. I think the number was like 5,000 subscribers, quote unquote, to that. So that was sort of like the basis of what we had, and we put stuff up, and originally it was like gaming blogs and sort of blogs and things like that were kind of reposting it. Like, hey, cool, look at this.
Yeah.
And this is a time when no such videos like that were being made. Now it's like quite a bit is happening as far as that goes. Like every
Yeah.
day there's some new.
I'm still having a tough time wrapping my brain around the fact that you said this all started in 2010, and
it's internet
only
years.
midway through 2013.
It's internet years. We joked about that, where it's
know.
like 6 months in internet years is like 4 years in real life or something. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like things change like every 6 months, where we're like, wow, okay, these truths that we held to be self-evident.
But
are
it's
no
the same
longer
you can
case.
say about technology. That's
Yeah.
been the latest thing of the last maybe almost 7 or 8, almost 10 years.
Yeah,
where
yeah.
Whether it's your computer, your laptop, your smartphone,
Yeah.
within 6 months it's a dinosaur. But that's never been true of the creative process,
Yeah.
the filmmaking process,
Yeah.
certainly.
No, definitely not.
But it is the growing rate of
Yeah,
YouTube.
and we found that like, despite that change, despite how fast the short form was going and what was being, what was interesting and what was like, because like early on, like YouTube, there was Lonely Girl 15, which was this like,
Sure.
web series. It was just girl talking straight to camera, and then there was all this mystery about, oh, is this real? Oh my gosh, she's talking about cult stuff, and it was part of a big, long story, vlog-driven series, and that was huge at the
Yeah.
time, It was, and it's funny. It's almost like it was like the MASH finale, like in terms of viewership. And then as time has gone on, I mean, the relatively
Sure.
things like that don't get as much views anymore because there's just so much more content out there. Everything gets diluted by everything that's out there.
Yeah.
So despite that though, I think we see that like fundamentally a lot of the basics, the storytelling basics, filmmaking basics, like still have weight and still have the ability to bring people and hold people in, and that's sort of something that we saw with our web series, was that we were writing it, and I wasn't writing it, Matt and our writers were writing, and it was very much focused on, okay, let's tell a basic story all the way through. It's going to end up being 2 hours. We're going to try and split it up for online, but what we found was in the end, people preferred we split the episodes. People preferred the episode that was TV length, and people gotten used to kind of TV length. So we kind of come back in a weird way to television now in terms of what people are used to in terms of lengths, because I think a lot of the belief with online videos is, oh, it's got to be short. It's got to be even 2 minutes long, 3 minutes long. It's got to be short and concise, and that works for a certain extent. But people have gotten so used to Hulu, Netflix, and watching that
Yeah.
longer form episodic thing on their computers, or for the younger generation, increasingly watching entire episodes on their phones, like just sitting there and watching it through there, that can sustain now. So doing the seasons, doing the web series, doing storytelling, doing long form narrative, we're saying, okay, let's go back to TV structure and length. And we're not, pegging it exactly at 22 minutes exactly per episode.
You don't
but we're
have
saying
to.
we don't have to exactly, but we're aiming at that range, and it feels right, in order to tell the story that we want to tell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the evolution within that short 2.5 years since it, or maybe just a little over 2 years in 2010 if you're talking. Because I wondered, it was one thing to launch an exciting video to a viral point.
Yeah.
And so I knew from when we spoke a while ago now about your interest in ultimately being long-form filmmaker. So I'm curious, was there a point in your childhood where you thought about life as a filmmaker? What inspired you?
So, I think I got into movies kind of similar to, I think, a lot of people in my generation, which was like Star Wars, and how cool is Star Wars, and we were like, hey, we can do Star Wars effects with a pool cue, and my brother and I would beat on each other with pool cues, and we would set up a camera in the living room on a tripod, and we would swing at each other, and then I would take it into, it was like a Mac, just a slow Mac that I had at the time, and it would just barely be able to, play video, let alone, actually mess with it. And I would be in like Photoshop, messing with it. And that was kind of like the very early introduction into that. We had like a digital 8 camera or high 8 camera. I was doing that stuff was probably like 13, 14.
Right.
And then in high school, we had, I went to a super hoity-toity private high school.
I'll say.
You can tell by
Seattle.
my manner of speaking, right? In Seattle, it was a place called Lakeside,
Right.
and it was like the well-known alumnus are like Bill Gates, Paul Allen, and my favorite was Adam West and Vanna White.
Yeah, those should be your favorite.
Top two
Yeah.
over there, and they had a lot of technology there. They had cameras and stuff, so we were messing around with that. Myself and several friends from various grades, we created a little student organization, and we had made as part of a thing, a short, like black and white, whatever, just jokey project in high school. And we played it at the end of the year to a small room, 100 people or so, and everyone loved it. And we're like, okay, well, let's try making it. What if we did a feature-length thing? So I was a sophomore. My co-director at the time was a guy named Reed, who was a junior. We decided, all right, let's make a feature-length movie and just go for it and just see how that goes. So we were shooting it throughout the course of the school year, juggling our other student duties, and we shot it and we put it out. And the key for that was we made our money back on it because we cast most of the school as an extra at some point during it. We had a scene where it's like, I'm being chased by a whole group of people, kind of sort of Hard Day's Night style. And it was like, all right, well, anybody who wants to be in this, come on in here. But then you got their $10 because by the time the movie comes around, exactly.
You had your original Kickstarter.
Yeah, exactly. So we did a little premiere there, and it was really, I think that experience of going through and just messing around and having fun with making something that everybody comes to see was what kind of drove me to that. Because originally I was gonna be like a computer programmer, computer engineering. I was really kind of technically minded. I was
not even that creative.
No, I mean
necessarily.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on what you do. But yeah, I was sort of like kind of going down that route, but then I started doing this and sort of how much fun that was. And also, I might add how much social credibility that gives you compared to being a computer nerd.
Does it really, filmmaker?
It did. No, it did.
Yeah.
Shockingly, it did in high school. Because
I would think so, yeah.
Because it's like if you're the dude who made the movie that has teachers in it and has cast like 400 people from the school and everyone's coming to watch, yeah, you're the shit all of a sudden.
You're instantly the shit.
That's my advice, by the way, for high school kids out there.
If you're looking to get laid, make a short film.
Yeah, exactly. And cast a lot of people into it, right?
If you even want to go to your senior prom, for fuck's sake, make it.
Get that camera, pick it up.
More ideas.
So, but my question is, there's a lot of people who, not a lot, but there's a good amount of kids who, especially with success of people like yourself, who can experiment and fuck around and throw it up. But when you were starting out, all those years ago, as a teenager, were you thinking filmmaker? Were you thinking this is fun, I like doing it?
That's as far as I went. I'd just gone to this is fun, I like doing it. Now, my family, my dad especially, loves movies. I think every weekend we would do go to Blockbuster, yeah, right?
Yeah.
Video rental.
You're old.
And
now.
we would
You're aging.
And we would do. I think it would be like 3 movies. It'd be watch one on Friday, one Saturday. We would just go nuts watching movies, and it was stuff I think I was like 13 or 14, my dad's like, you gotta watch Midnight Cowboy, this movie's and I was like, okay, all right,
This is in the 90s.
Yeah.
So you can't avoid me, technically.
Yeah, no, exactly, that's what I'm saying.
Most of my inventory was in the 90s.
Yeah, exactly. But it was seeing a lot of movies, but I never really thought about who's doing this, what does it mean to be a director and all that stuff.
None of that's catching your attention. Someone just has a camera one day and says, hey, do you want to help?
Well, we were messing around with cameras, and what was the iMac had come out when I was in high school, and the iMac had iMovie on it.
Yes.
And this was the Steve Jobs vision of hey, here's how
you too
things can get shared.
Yeah.
And it was basically home videos and home movies, and here's how you can edit them and put them together in this sort of the desktop publisher sort of creator revolution.
Was that the bubble back, the iMac?
It was the colored one. It was the 5 different colors.
That was fucking awful.
Oh man, yeah, I know. Especially looking back at them. If you look back at the old laptops now, and you look at them, just what was going on that we thought that this was acceptable? Which of course will happen again in another 10 years or so for everything we have on us.
A great ad campaign for that, by the way. Rolling Stone, She's a Rainbow.
Yeah. Oh, they did.
Those?
They did.
Very memorable.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Well, one of us in the room is so old they remember the original ad for the Macintosh Tower of 1984.
It's the most famous commercial of all time.
1984 during the Super Bowl, yeah. I mean, that's
directed by?
Me.
Ridley Scott.
I was so close. I was up for it. I did not get it.
But had they seen Vamped Out yet?
Apparently not.
Oh.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yes? Oh.
I'm just banking all this information.
Oh.
Sam's been giving me lots of good trivia.
Oh, good.
Which is good because my tournament's coming up.
Yeah, yes. Tonight's a big night, an important night. Trivia team. Trivia team.
Trivia team.
Yeah.
Also, I just have to point this out real quick.
Please, Sammy.
Our fans who are only listening to this episode are doing themselves a great disservice because our guest is magnificently talented with that pen he's holding. That thing has not stopped moving in all sort of acrobatic ways.
It's a very specific move, and I've seen a few people do this.
Yeah.
Don't stop.
No, don't stop.
Yeah.
He's got two moves. He's got the flip around the thumb.
Yeah, the flip around.
And then he's also rolling it over the fingers.
Yeah, exactly. And then you have just the regular, and then the third.
I think we have a new Vine video for you.
It's a good thing. Here's how you get good at pen and
Manipulation?
Manipulation of objects. Take a class that sucks in college.
That's what I've heard.
Required.
You're like the third person I've talked to that could do this, and that was the exact reason each time.
It's
bored to fucking death.
Sit in the back
class.
and you're like, you know what? Oh, I have a quarter in here. I think I have a quarter. Let me just see. But you started sitting there and be like, you know what would be cool? If I do that one thing Val Kilmer did. I forget the movie, but with the quarter, is anything I don't know. He does it in Top Gun where he does the like, whoa.
Oh, yeah.
The stupid finger cascade.
Sure.
Thing, yeah.
Yep.
It's much more difficult to do, by the way, with a penny. Which
Yeah,
is what you've
exactly.
chosen.
We're slowly moving. Yeah, you move up in terms of difficulty as the denominations go lower.
That's
But yeah.
that's a big thing among poker players because they have the chips.
I will say, one time I was at a poker game and I can do chip tricks.
Yeah.
Great. Like, because I just like, okay, great. So I'll just mess around. I just got chips and just do stupid chip tricks. And I'm not a very good poker player, but I can do great chip tricks. But
I have a weekly game. You should play it.
all right, yeah. Okay, so
You just said the magic words. I'm not a very good poker player.
But here's what I missed. So I'm sitting at the table and I'm sitting there like, all right, great, got some chips, I can play around with them. And my brother was playing with me, and afterwards, I didn't place it on. Afterwards, he's like, what were you doing? Why were you not just bluffing the hell out of everyone? I'm like, well, what are you talking about? It's like, every single person was intimidated by you because they thought you were some sort of poker god because you could do 20,000 different chip tricks. And I'd be like, oh, better fold these. And they're like, oh, shh. Or if I bet in, everyone, you notice how everybody was scared off by it? I'm like, no, I was too busy doing you see the shuffle? You do it 3 times, then it comes back to the original order. Yeah. So,
Yeah. See, the problem is those chip tricks, as your brother suggested, suggest that you've put in your 10,000 hours at the table.
Yeah, exactly.
And
but
haven't just mastered the chip tricks, you've mastered the game.
Yeah, exactly. But that's completely not the case. So now when I'd go in, I would kind of have to be like, okay, you know what? I'll go in on 2-7 off, see what happens,
Yes. So the idea of going from this is fun to opening up that shop in your loft and saying fuck it, let's go for it, is an interesting journey.
It is a jump a little bit, yeah. Because I think it was.
But I mean, at what point does it become a focus? Because this doesn't have to be an epiphany.
No, of course, yeah.
Those things don't really exist other than in movies.
And they're prolonged and they happen over the course of a year.
As you get more proficient
at
what started out as fun for you, I imagine maybe it starts to take some focus.
Yeah, and I think what it was it was thinking about, because I'd gone to school, I'd gone to University of Southern California in the film school, and I'd gone through that. And
or hacks like Bryan Singer.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think at the time I was just starting to think about, like, out of college, what do I want to do with my life in general? Is it a very sort of high level look? Would I be happy as employed somewhere? If I was employed somewhere, what would that look like? I remember even thinking like, if I was a computer programmer, if I had gone down that path, would being at Google kind of be something that I would want to do, or would I have wanted to do like maybe my own company? I'm not sure, but I remember thinking about that specifically, and it's sort of weird, specifically thinking about it in Finland, where I'd been flown out there to do a Guitar Hero thing. So this was kind of in the midst of doing these sort of weird Guitar Hero appearance things where I was collecting minor appearance fees around to play Guitar Hero. And I was in Finland, just sort of had a few days sort of walking around up in a city called Rovaniemi, which is like way on the north side, supposedly where Santa Claus is. So
Not supposedly, sir.
Right, verifiably, actually. I went there. I have a photo of it. And I was walking around there sort of just thinking about, it's like, okay, well, I had done at that point some direct-to-DVD stuff, worked on that kind of stuff, and had the opportunity to do more direct-to-DVD things, and it was like, it just didn't feel right. And sort of walking around thinking about, like, well, how are people watching things nowadays, and how is is
Your generation especially.
yeah, and younger even. And what I found was that younger even was something that I'd come to discover. I was just thinking sort of my generation. I'd be like, you know what? Nobody's really. People are going to movies, but it doesn't seem like people want to go see movies as much anymore. Online, I feel like could be a thing. I feel like getting things digitally delivered, like whatever that is, streamed, however that works, like could be a thing, and having sort of distant idea of like, well, what's most important in this sort of coming world, if these things are true, if everyone's going to start making movies and that equipment's going to be available, and what's going to be true is the people who have some kind of fan base are going to be the ones that have ability to move around, have agility, and so the idea of like, okay, well, YouTube is a place where we've seen people start to grow fan bases, and nobody has quite yet attempted or even accomplished the idea of like, let's make a fan base and transition that somewhere. For everybody that we had seen on YouTube at the time, it was like, hey, we're making YouTube videos, and they had created a self-sustaining following that worked on that platform. And unfortunately for a lot of those people, the type of content that they made was what had attracted people there in the first place.
Yeah.
So we know some guys and they just do song parodies and things like that, and that's why everyone's coming to see them.
There's no real filmmaker thriving
No,
on YouTube
and
that point.
No, and well, even now though, because a lot of people that they bring up, like Lena, the girls creator. Yeah. So she had was briefly on YouTube for a bit, and Derek Comedy, there's comedy guys were on there, and the Lonely Island.
Sure.
And they were even pre-YouTube. They're doing the Channel 101 things in LA, but everyone on there had gotten popular because of a shtick that they had done. And it wasn't because of them as creators, it was because of the shtick.
The gimmick.
The gimmick. And so as a result, I mean, that's what was kind of holding a lot of them back, was that they would have to keep on doing that. And if they changed that up, the fan base was like, well, no, I don't want to see this. Right. So for us, it was like from the beginning, we're like, okay, well, I think we can do this. And I think this is where we can get a fan base. And I don't know what's down the path. I don't know how this translates into being able to do what we want to do. I do know that that's important. And I do know that fan base, looking at myself, as someone who makes movies, is important. It's not. It's going to be horrible if I can't shake a persona based on the content. So it's like if they see me as like a filmmaker, in the same way like if they see the same way we see like a guy like Tarantino as a filmmaker, and not Reservoir Dogs, and if every movie isn't Reservoir Dogs, and screw that guy. No, he is a filmmaker who can do anything, any project.
Well, the ultimate you can say about any filmmaker in traditional media is that when a new film of theirs comes out, like Tarantino, like the Coen brothers, it's only compared to their other work. Mm-hmm. It's not compared to the films that are out at that point. Yeah. And there are only a handful of filmmakers that that's true of.
Yeah. Kubrick would be one of them.
Yep. So now, how about this, though? You go from getting proficient technically, visual effects, eventually mastering fire as an effect.
It's very sort of Promethean.
Yeah. In my case, when I was set on fire for the Schwarzenegger extravaganza.
Oh yes, End of Days.
End of Days. They actually set my stunt double on fire.
Right.
They didn't say we should build an effect of fire.
But if they didn't get that take, you were willing to be
I
set
was
on
next.
fire.
That's what the double.
I said do him twice, and then
and then you'll do it.
If you need me.
If you still haven't gotten it.
Yeah. Max Daniel, I should point out, my award-winning stunt double. But that's a $10,000 gag. I think they still call it in the stunt.
Yeah, they call them gags still. Yeah.
So when you go from technically savvy to understanding how to surf on your car on the 405 or whatever freeway you choose, to being a storyteller, what is that moment like? Because if I may, that seems like the most important transition that you did make, which was when you found your voice as a storyteller, how to be funny within a genre that you like.
Yeah, and I agree with that, because in terms of visual effects, the stuff that we do, I'm not going to put on a pedestal. I think there are people who do just visual effects tests, who just mess around and do one effect, isolated, out of context of any sort of storyline, on their own, and they've been doing that for years, and it's more impressive, technically even. But they don't have the sort of views that we were able to achieve. And I think a lot of it has to do with even the tests that we do, are couched in a very threadbare, very minimalist
but functional storyline. And the storyline doesn't even have to be anything so complex. Like, for example, the car one is essentially this storyline, quote unquote, is here's a car, here's a guy getting up on the car, hear him playing a song, and that's it. Like, and some of the other ones, some of the gunfights and the action scenes we do, it's like, here I am playing a kind of schlubby average guy, and oh no, I find myself in a bad situation, and oh, surprise, surprise, I can fight my way out of it. And like that's as the extent of storytelling that we have in a lot of these short videos. So to go from that to be like, okay, now let's say what is character, what is arc, what is the whole structure, and that is a very it's a difficult process.
Yeah.
And it's a process that people take their whole lives to attempt to do and attempt to master.
Yeah, not 2.5 years, Freddie.
Yeah, I know. No, but by no means do I think like I'm even close there. And it's something that is, I think, very.
Yeah, but
engaging,
listen, if I may,
Yeah.
so that you don't have to say it. If you're pulling 7, 8, 10 million views on a video, what's the new one with the fantastic shot to the nuts?
Yeah.
Love it. If you're pulling the numbers, if you're getting the level of subscribers, you're only doing it from having found your voice as a filmmaker and storyteller, regardless of the length.
I think it's a matter of evolving it.
Yeah.
And where are you happy with it? I
Right.
think a lot of people get happy with it getting to a certain point, and that's it. And I think it's a very
How self-critical are you?
like probably harder core than probably anybody. Like really, really, really tough on it, on what we do, and to the point where.
Are you ever satisfied? with
No, I
something
don't think
you've
so.
done?
I mean, there are parts of it that you're satisfied with. You're like, okay, that was cool, and I was okay with that. But it's always couched with, but I think we should have done it this way, and next time we should do it this way. And every single time we do something, like so, Video Game High School, we just shot the second season of it, and we're going back now. We're cutting it up and getting pickups and finishing up that post-production process. We'll go through scenes and we'll be like, this is stupid. We should have started it like this. We should have come in through the window like this, and this is how they should have done because of the pacing of this. And how come we didn't see this at the time? How come we didn't realize that this is how this scene should be entered and this is how it should exit? And how do we check that next time? Because it's like, there's so many times where it's less, so we're getting better with it compared to the first season and the second season. But the second season still has those moments where we're like, you know what would be way better if we could just do this again would be like this. And it's a matter of trying to see that, understand that, and then apply that later on. What's kind of nice about the YouTube sort of process, every week putting something up, was that we had, it's not the world's perfect feedback system, but you had feedback right away. And it wasn't making short films into a void, which is what I think a lot of doing short films ends up being. It's like you get thrown up into some festivals and that's it. And your audience is maybe 150 people total across the 3 festivals that
And you're getting tens of thousands of comments.
Yeah, and then
on a
granted,
video.
there's the propensity for an echo chamber in there because at a certain point everyone's like, well, this was great, this is funny, and that's it. And it's very easy to take the message away from that, hey, I did great. Look at all these people saying that this is good. That's a dangerous mindset that you can get into. That's the caveat with the sort of giant crowd Tumblr of, like just people throwing comments on. But we had the ability to say, hey, did this joke work? And see it and be like, oh, you know what? Nobody thought this was funny. We thought it was funny, but they didn't think it was funny. So we had the ability to iterate on that. And I think any process, anything that you do to get better at requires iteration and it requires feedback. It's just the definition of like evolution is like, here's something, here's pressure on it, and you get feedback from it, you iterate, next step, over and over and over and over again. And that's how I think people get better. And
so from the beginning, you kind of knew to make the audience your partner.
Yeah, and I think that was very much an important thing for us because it was like, well, okay, look, these are the people that I think, and I think this is starting to be the case, they're going to be the ones who support us, for better or worse. They're the ones who will, support, at the time there wasn't Kickstarter, but Kickstarter campaigns and coming and seeing it every week. I had read an article by a guy who talked about the 1,000 true fans, which is a sort of interesting concept where he talked about how like any sort of creator, if you're a filmmaker or an artist or a musician, you only need 1,000 true fans. And what he defines as true fans is somebody who will put over the course of a year $100 into you, be it merchandise sales, going to your shows, whatever. So 1,000 people putting $100 each in, that's $100,000 a year. You can subsist off that. So you don't actually need tons and tons and tons of people. You only need 1,000 people who are really dedicated. And if you can get that, you can be a self-sustaining artist. You can do whatever you want to do as long as you're serving that fan base, as long as you're true to that fan base. So what's really interesting about that is that, so one, the internet kind of helps enable that, but on the other hand, too, it means that there's so many more niches of things that can exist now, especially with video. You know, so you could make a web series that like maybe doesn't get tons and tons of views, but it can sustain itself, and if it hits that right audience. So I think more and more, like when I go around and let's say someone, like if a fan recognizes me, like they'll be like, oh, I'm gonna take a picture and stuff. And everyone else where I'm at was just like, who the hell is this guy? Like, what the hell is this random, okay, they're taking a picture of this guy? And I've had, you know, like, yeah, nice old ladies come up to me and they say, like, sorry, what do you do again? Should I know you? And I was like, no, I just, you know, I do YouTube videos and stuff. And I think that scenario is going to happen more and more and more, where you're going to be in a place where it's like, oh, okay, this person is well known for something apparently because these people are losing their minds trying to get a picture with them.
Right.
I have no idea who this person is. And I think it's awesome because it means you could have such a diversity of content now and not have to worry about
Celebrity,
not have to worry about even trying to hit a mainstream, trying to like appeal to a lowest common denominator. You can appeal to your denominator,
yes,
so to speak.
Well,
and
it's
be
a
okay
different
with it.
form. Like, instead of accusing someone of pandering to get the largest possible demographic across all continents, age groups, what have you.
Yeah.
You can just focus and indeed pander, a new form of pandering, to your core audience.
It's a more honest form of pandering.
Well, it's a new, completely restructured use of the word, quite frankly, because now, as I said, it's a partnership with them. It's their feedback from the beginning has helped hone your ability to be a storyteller.
Yeah,
without
absolutely.
question.
No, it's been a back and forth for sure.
Yeah. So the challenges. So tell me about your foray into Kickstarter, because
yeah, definitely.
Maybe the first part of the question is, when you're getting up to 6 million subscribers on YouTube, when you're getting a couple of million views almost no matter what every time you put up a new video, and you have ad share from being a partner, the assumption from the outside is that's enough to sustain your business model and continue to make films with 100% creative control that does not exist in traditional media and never will. So Kickstarter is a way to take it to another level?
I think so, and I think this is one of the weird side effects of doing what we do, which is Google has been historically very mum about how much their partners make. And I can understand maybe why at the very beginning, but now it's kind of a strange thing where it's almost something like if you take 30 minutes to Google, if you take like 30 seconds to Google it, you'll find out. And you can get that number. But it's not out there. It's not sort of a thing that's sort of discussed in the same way. Like not to draw too hoity-toity of a comparison, but like in the same way like that everybody knows how much like, oh, LeBron's getting paid this much, or oh, Kobe's getting this much. Like it's kind of out there that like, oh yeah, basketball stars or sports figures get paid X.
Also, there's a new fascination with these numbers that didn't exist before.
Oh, definitely. But that doesn't exist for sort of the online thing. No one really quite knows how much even like websites go. They'll hear about Yahoo comes and buys Tumblr and that, but any individual person that's not really kind of out there. So as a result, it's a weird tightrope that we walk, because on one hand, I know for a fact there's fans who think that we have jobs and this is our side gig, making YouTube videos. And there's other fans who know, hey, according to these numbers and according to what I've Googled here, you should be totally rich and you should be able to fund everything yourself. So why are you asking us for money? So Kickstarter for us is kind of a weird thing, because we have to make sure that sort of side of the conversation is not a part of that conversation. So we want to make sure that's like, look, this is a project that we want to do, and it's a give and take. It's not about, hey, we're coming out with our hands outstretched begging you for money. That's not the right way to go about it. And we've seen that fail, even for high-level celebrity sort of projects. The way to do it is like, look, here's a value proposition. It's like, hey, come on over. If you want to support us as support myself as a filmmaker, if you want to support this project, if you want to get something cool from this project, DVD, sign poster, whatever, this whole list of merchandise, to show that you've supported this, to show that you have this sort of devotion, so to speak, you can do that and you can participate in that. And here's how. So for this amount of money, this is what you get back. For this amount of money, this is what you get back. So there's a big give and take. So Kickstarter puts themselves out there as it's a charity platform. It's like an altruistic, almost Medici-esque funding of the arts type of platform that enables people to find these artistic projects and toss money at them. But that's not how people treat it. The way people treat it is, the co-creator of Video Game High School, Matt Arnold, he says the first $5 in Kickstarter is the charity $5. Everything after that is them getting something for that money. You know, so. We've seen, like, I think that's what, for example, a lot of the negative backlash around, like, say, Zach Braff's Kickstarter comes around that, where the people are like, hey, you're rich, why are you asking us for money?
Not just is he rich, how tough could it be for him to get $2 million to make a movie that he has complete control over?
Right, exactly. So there's sort of two levels to that, right? And he's saying, and he's, I guess what I think he didn't get across clearly and would have helped him was to say, it's not about you giving me money for this, it's about you getting this product early, or getting to see this process early, or getting something else out of it. That's not about one person giving money to another person who has a lot of money already. Like, that sort of transaction is not interesting, and that's not ever going to work, because it's like, well, I'm going to give you money for, but I will give money for this. I will give money to get a DVD. I will buy a collector's edition of a video game or something, even though I know that these are multinational companies that make billions of dollars. I don't care. I don't care about what they do. I care about what I get.
Right.
Which is what we sort of saw early on in Kickstarter, so that's what we tried to structure our campaign as. Like, okay, hey, there's DVDs, all that stuff, so that it was something that had some sort of value.
How high up does it go? Can you donate a certain level that you get a walk-on the show?
Yeah, so we had that. We had, so all the way up to $10,000, which is what Kickstarter sets as their high-end limit for a number of reasons. Mostly, I think, just to make sure that they don't get tagged by the SEC for all the, and which probably will happen with Kickstarter soon. Because it's like, is this an investment? Are people getting a return on their investment? All of a sudden now the Securities and Trade Commission is going to be like, okay, get in on that.
Right.
But
it's not an investment, it's a gift.
Technically, yes,
right.
at the levels that they're at.
Well, so here's the question about the Kickstarter.
Yeah.
I should let you finish your point.
No, go
So
for it.
you got up to $10,000, and that got what? A walk-on?
10,000 was executive producer level, which was whatever you wanted, basically. But yeah, I think it was at 3,000. We had a walk-on. We had one, and what was fun about this is we can do some jokes with it.
Sure.
So I owe someone for $2,500. I fly to wherever you are in the world. I'll pay my own airfare. I'll show up on your door, unannounced, with donuts or your local equivalent of donuts if you're not in America or
if you're not in the donut
country. If you're not in the donut,
yeah.
Exactly. And at some point I'm going to be doing this and just flying out and saying, hey, thanks very much. Here's some donuts. Let's hang out for a while. So that was kind of like fun, fun sort of rewards like that. Another one was,
if I may, when you need to go to that place to show up at their door, whatever the equivalent of donut is, have your people do research in the area
and find
out what the Dunkin' Donuts is that will sponsor your flight if you show up with a bag of their product.
That's a good call.
Because it's all going to be on camera, I'm sure.
That's true. Oh, yeah.
All right.
That's a good call. That's smart.
It's a gift. It's a gift, Freddie. Please. Again, it's what I do. A lot of people take in this business. We give here. We give. But so here's my question about the Kickstarter thing. Because it's starting to, with the Zach Braffs and with people like yourself, if I may, who have developed such a fan base in the new world, that they're already a part of your creative process. And now you're allowing them to be a part of a project and almost have, not an ownership stake, because that does suggest investment and not gift, but a sense of propriety.
Yeah, a sense of propriety, a sense of attachment to it.
Right.
Yeah, definitely.
In a new way. So what happens when I set up the Kickstarter thing, I give them all the incentives with the signed posters and the visit to the set, and we go to lunch and all the various stages. All the money comes in. I start shooting the film. I either stop shooting the film and say, I'm absolutely going to finish it, I just need to some more time creatively, but in fact, never finish the film. I mean, anytime there's a chance for a con or a scam, people are going to step into this world. Yeah.
And it already has, actually, on Kickstarter side, and the game side of it. There have been guys who said, hey, I made this game, everybody give me money, and then they're gone. They're just disappeared. This is the tightrope walk that I'm talking about, where it's now, instead of like, ooh, if I screw this up and this movie is a box office bomb and I lose and I'm done as a director for 5 years in Hollywood, it's now a give and take with the fan base. Because it is, it's very much that. It's like, what if it comes out and everyone hates it?
Specifically, everyone in the group of people who invested.
Even that, yeah,
Excuse me,
exactly.
Gifted,
yeah, exactly. So that's the risk that we take,
right.
and that is a risk that we can mitigate by conversation, by understanding their viewpoint, by having a sense of what works with that audience. But yeah, to be sure, that's very much a risk, and the attachment now is palpable. It's actually it's an actual tangible attachment because I paid $1,000 for this thing, and I think you see the same thing. I think maybe to a less direct sense, but you do see it in sci-fi movies like Star Wars, Star Trek, even Firefly, or any of those things where people are like they feel attached to Star Wars.
Sure.
So when the first episode 1 came out and it wasn't everything that they thought it was, there was this huge backlash, and it didn't stop the movies necessarily from making money, but the whole thing, that whole enterprise, I think, suffered as a result of it. And when the new Star Wars movies comes out, it's going to be the same thing, where everyone's going to have a set of expectations going into it.
Yeah.
And so we're not at that point where we're like that level, but there is a huge fear, and Matt and I talk a little bit about this occasionally, where we're like, what if season 1 of Video Game High School was successful for reasons we cannot comprehend or understand? And now we go fully fledged, full steam ahead into the second season without a proper understanding of it.
Gotcha.
What if? Maybe it is, again, from our point of view, it's like we think we get it, and we think we know what works, and here's how we're going to do a second season to fulfill that. But that is definitely a fear that we have, which is like, oh, what if we were wrong?
You don't have enough feedback from the fan base that's telling you what they like about it?
Well, no, you do. But it's one of those things where, for example, like Video Game High School, it hit a crowd. It hit a lot of kids who are just starting high school, that sort of younger crowd compared to sort of what we usually get.
Right.
And we think it's for these reasons. And from what we can tell, the data that we have and the polling that we have, just talking to people, bears that out. Mm-hmm. But there's always that outside possibility of like, no, actually it's because of this, and you're not seeing it. It's very easy to get in that world and just be like, okay, if it's not this, then trying to second guess the masses, so to speak. Right. It's very easy to get in that world. So I think the only thing that we can do is like, well, look, what can we concentrate on? What can we focus on? It's the fundamentals of storytelling. Let's make an interesting arc. Let's have good conflict. Let's have interesting character resolutions, interesting characters. And that's what we can focus on. That's what we can control with the knowledge that we have, from that outside world. But that's our focus.
So when you go to fund the video game high school, what are your thoughts? What are your choices? What are your
here's the big question that we have when we're funding is, how much do you ask for?
Right.
Especially in the context of Kickstarter as a whole and how many other projects there were. So the first season was, we asked for $75,000, which was the amount that we needed for post-production, because we knew our regular production was going to be pretty good up to that point, and we could finish up the rest of that. For second season, we're like, okay, well, how much do we ask for? Do we ask for, so many big projects had come out since then. Do we ask for $1 million? Can we even achieve $1 million in the video category? Do we even have that kind of clout? Will they even get up to that point? Maybe we should ask for less. Well, should we ask for the same amount that we got last season? That seems like a cop-out. Doesn't seem like we're evolving. So the number we settled on was, we put out a dollar-for-dollar breakdown of season 1 in terms of how much we spent and where we spent it. So it's like, all right, this was LA, $85,000 in location fees. That was it. $40,000 in shipping just to get all the stuff out there. This is where all your money went and how much we spent on season 1. So we said, all right, let's take that exact number, and that'll be our goal for season 2. So if we get that much, we can at least achieve the same level that we did in season 1. And anything above that and beyond that is just gravy. So for season 3, I don't know. That's a question that we're even starting to question now. It's like, well, how much should we ask for? Should we put the breakdown of how much? What if that amount that we spent is going to be more than Kickstarter can sustain? There's a lot of questions. Part of me says, ask for $1 and just say, look, we have, at this point with season 3, I think we'll get to a point where we'll be able to have enough money from other places in terms of filmmaking to be able to handle that. And if you guys want to participate in getting free, cool stuff, go for it. And we don't really need it, but we want you to be able to participate in it. Maybe that's one way of going. I don't know.
Right. And looking outside your own creative and output world, because you've said over a few interviews your desire to make a feature film.
Yeah. I think it's a feature film, or it's a series, or something long form, a feature film, but it's,
I mean for theatrical distribution.
I don't think theatrical anymore. But when I say theatrical distribution, I think what that means is I think we're gonna get to a point where like AMC or a theater company, they have such a problem with filling up those seats where it's like, I think it's what the new version of four-walling is, which is to say, hey, we're gonna be in these cities on these nights, and we're gonna fly around and be at these screenings, and here it is theatrically. You can also get it online. You can also download it. I think I come from my generation is so used to just getting things the way we want it and not having to conform to any expectation for consumption. So we got TiVos because I'm not going to sit around and wait for this time to see something. As soon as it's out, I want to watch it.
Right.
Or if I don't have time for it, I'm going to watch it whenever I want to. If I don't like, and if I can't get access to it because it's on HBO, I'll pirate it. I don't care. If I want this album, I'll pirate it if I can't get access to it easily. So in that world, as a content creator, it's like, well, okay, we need to make things available for everybody, and we need to understand that you can't really make your money in the same way that you used to. You can't really rely on big box office ticket sales as much, and you have to start thinking like kind of like bands do, which is like, hey, we can make our money off merch, and we can make our money off people coming to our live shows and offering something else beyond even just the product itself. I think it's an unfortunate reality of the world that we live in now, which is very different than the way it used to be, which is, you know, you can throw up any movie and throw tons of marketing at it, and you'll at least make an opening weekend. And as long as you hit that opening weekend number, you'll be fine because you have your 7 windows of...
Yeah, I don't know what theatrical release holds for you in terms of the first thing that's going to happen is they're going to take away creative control, which is all you've had and all you've known.
I mean, and again, it's something that like you hear directors spend their whole lives trying to get.
Right.
And it's like, well, we have this. Why are we running the other way when all these really respected directors are kind of passing us, coming to where we were coming from, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that goes right away, first thing.
Yeah. I want to invite your fans into the forum. We like to take questions, as I mentioned to you beforehand. While they're being sent to me, let me ask about working with some people in traditional media.
Sure, sure.
Not just myself. From Degrassi. Shanae Grimes, everybody. Jamie loves Degrassi.
I still watch Degrassi. I just watched the prom special on Friday. I still watch it.
So does Kevin Smith, and he's older than you, considerably.
Because he was watching, and I was like, oh, that's Darcy. She went on a ski trip for school, and then she got roofied and then raped.
She got roofied and raped.
She did.
That's the
Loved it.
second time.
That's why you don't go on ski trips.
Yeah, just on the slip.
And now her little sister Claire is the one I can't stand because she's this chubby Bible thumper, and I don't understand why every cute boy at school has a crush on her.
Here's your new podcast. Once Mad Men's over.
I know, my Degrassi one. Sabrina and I will do
My friend
it.
has an idea for a party game where you invite a group of people. It's sort of very much like a mystery game. But everybody has a target that they're supposed to assassinate, but you have roofies. So the whole point is you have to try and figure out who's roofied you before you pass out. And if everyone roofies one person, well, then, you know, that might be a problem.
Yes, that might be a problem.
Might be a problem.
So
she's Canadian.
Yes.
Which means
I worked with her.
she's the nicest person of all time.
That's exactly right. Yeah. You wouldn't need to roof here. You just say, please get into bed. And that would be the end of
You're
it.
so polite. Especially being in LA for so long, it's like you're not used to like that level of politeness that the Canadians all seem to have.
Yeah.
So when she goes on, you're almost like, is this genuine? That doesn't feel right. I've never felt this level of genuine politeness from anyone before. And you're like, no, that's just being Canadian. That's what that's like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're and man, they must love being generalized by this part of North America. But it's ridiculous. Yeah,
Hey, I know some really nasty Canadians.
the three of them.
Yeah.
You know all three?
All from Ottawa. That's right, Ottawa. I'm calling you out.
The prick central of Canada
Yeah.
is Ottawa. Andy Whitfield
Whitfield, yeah.
from the Spartacus on Stars.
yeah.
What was that like?
He was, you know, it really bummed me out when he passed.
Yeah.
Because he came to shoot with us the day, like that day, he had to be gone at 4 o'clock because he was going to catch a flight from LAX to New Zealand to start the training camp,
Right.
the Gladiator training camp that they start. And they start like a month and a half before the show, and they just get on this, you know, sort of physical routine to cut body fat and make them just look like shredded human beings for
Yeah. all
all the viewing public at home. And so he was going to go off the flight. So he was able to just come in that morning, which is all the time that we had to shoot with
He
him.
had a heart out at
He had a heart
2
out
o'clock?
like 3 o'clock, something like that.
Yeah.
And he was, and you know, and talking to him, like we asked him, he's like, you know, there's always the danger of being typecast into a role. It's like, do you think that may be a problem? Like, what do you want to do? Like, what kind of role do you want to play, like, as an actor? And he told us what he really wanted to do was, like, he wanted to be in, like, gritty crime, modern detective crime drama stuff. And we're looking at it, like, yeah, you could do that. You have that look. You know, I think that he looked like, to me, he looked like a harder core, more like masculine version of like Sam Worthington, you know? And everything Sam Worthington was in, I feel like Annie Whitfield could have been in and like been more gritty and been more like sort of masculine in it, you know?
Right.
And that was what he wanted to do. He wanted to do that kind of thing. So we're like, okay, so, you know, playing with guns was like, you know, this is a sort of high action video. Playing with guns is his opportunity to kind of get in a little bit into it. And to this day, we have yet to meet any actor who would throw himself physically into what we were asking him to do harder than he did. And
More so than me.
more so than you, shockingly, I know. But so, you know, we had a thing where, okay, we're gonna run out the door and you're gonna jump and you're gonna shoot dive behind this, and we have some mattresses that we set up here. We don't actually have real crash pads here, some mattresses that we've stacked up and put a tarp over. And he says, great. And we did like 4 or 5 takes. Every single take, it was just full on hard, just jump, and we're like, whoa, don't save yourself. You know, by the end, he was like, this is great. You know, just winded, and just like, so he was like so physically into it, and
Right.
had such an enthusiasm for it that it was, yeah, that was like what we took away from that. I was like, man, that guy loves acting. That guy loves being physical, and that guy is like he could really be great at doing all of these things that he had.
Well, how about the feeling of getting someone from traditional media who then looks to you, whether they say it to you or not?
It's strange.
But also as a way for you to make them relevant in this new space.
It's sort of a strange thing, right? Because I think now you're starting to see a lot of the traditional guys kind of be like, hey, I guess I need a Twitter account, huh? Okay, well, I guess, and then maybe their publicists are running their Twitter accounts for them in some cases. But I think traditional celebrity is used to having that sort of house on the hill, sort of like not a very intimate relationship with fandom, or it's managed through channels like, you know, you have tabloids, you have, you know, the various sort of ways that the public interacts with these people. And it's a very controlled, very sandboxed sort of environment where it's like, okay, I'm going to do a signing, here I am at an awards show, here I am shaking, you know. Generally for people as a whole, they don't have that sort of level of interaction. So when it's sort of getting to this world now where I think people are hungry for authenticity, and sort of they want to have that kind of relationship with the stars or the celebrities, and it's like, well, how do you manage that now, and how can you? So I think, yeah, so we've had this where people come in and be like, okay, so help us out and try to introduce us into this environment a little bit. And so for us, it's like I don't know. For us, it's just like be genuine, just be available. You know, it's like there's no secrets.
But those
to
are
it for
two
us.
huge things that everyone in traditional media is not telling them.
Right.
Be available and be genuine.
Yeah. I mean, for us, it's like we are able to get to where we are because that's kind of like the way we had to do it. It's like we have to be like this. Like this is the only way that we can interact.
Well, it's just
you know?
disarming, and it makes you feel relatable on a new, entertaining level.
Yeah.
They don't ever get a chance to affect the way Spielberg or even J.J. Abrams makes a movie.
Right. I mean, they'll go to see his panel at Comic-Con, but that's a select few who get in. And
then
that's
they're
it,
just
you know?
voyeurs, though.
Yeah,
You know, maybe
absolutely.
they get to wander up to a microphone and be a part of a Q&A.
Right.
If they're 12 people out of 12,000.
Yeah, and you know what I think, and this is not to go too far off on a tangent on this, but I think that's what Twitter does really well, is that when you follow somebody on Twitter, you don't see that they are being followed or that they have, you know, however many millions of followers. You only see that you're following them, and so when they send something out, it goes directly to you, and you don't get the sense that's going to everyone else. It's almost like a very personalized radio broadcast, where you have a single point source broadcasting out, but every single receiver of that is like getting it directly to them, and they can send a message directly to that person without a sense from everyone else how that's going. So like if you do like a search, even for like, let's say Bieber's Twitter account, if you just search for his account and see the tweets that he's getting, he gets tweets at a rate of like 1 every second, 2 or 3 every second. So the update just goes. If he was sitting there reading it, it'd be impossible. No human being could sit there and be like in the Matrix when they're sitting and watching the lines of code, right? He couldn't possibly take in all of that.
Right.
But you look at what the tone of those tweets are. It's personal messages. It's like it's people communicating as if it's going directly in to them.
It's as if he CC'd you on,
Right, exactly.
an email.
Yeah, exactly.
And you get to reply.
Right, but you don't see that he CC'd 4 million other people, and all those 4 million other people are filling up his inbox at the same
Why
time.
do you need to see that? Why does
exactly.
that need to even
I think
be
that's
in your
the appeal.
thoughts?
Well, exactly.
That's the great con along with the fact that Twitter itself, if I may repeat this to our own fans, has never really acknowledged that the site was built on the back of celebrities. And the con that their fans could have a daily interaction.
And also that I think Twitter is a company and a platform that had no idea what it was trying to do, and that every bit of functionality from Twitter is a result of just people using it and then being like, yeah, okay, that looks like a good idea. Let's do it like that. Like, for example, like just the fact that like someone's username starts to take up your character limit. So if you have a really long username, now you can't say as much to that person.
Right.
Or if it's two people with long names, you have to, what? Like if you were designing this with anything in mind, like with what it has become in mind, you would never allow that. You'd be like, well, no, this should have nothing to do with what you're able to say, how long someone decided their username was.
Yeah, it's 140 characters beyond the name, whatever the name is. Like.
Yeah, or whatever, you know. And it was built as like a mobile platform because they saw, hey, 140 characters, because originally it was built for phones. It was built for text messages. It was built for like, that because 140 characters is what a text message length is. So that's they could send that through the SMS networks. But when we have celebrities come in and say, okay, let's introduce it to it, it's kind of weird to try and say that because you're talking to people who I think don't even want to bother with that, or in a lot of cases.
Right. Well, at some point, it might be a case of they haven't needed to think outside the box because they've succeeded enough within it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I find it forever fascinating to speak to someone like yourself who's only existed outside that box.
Yeah, and sort of a weird in public.
And then reinvented. Like one of our producers, Josh Negrin, does a lot of his own short films. Mm-hmm. And like many other people like him, you're someone who's taken all these ideas and all these various technologies and stuff and then sort of added your own to it. Made a part of it your own. So now you're acting as sort of the guy who's going through the jungle with the machete in each hand for some of these other filmmakers. Mm-hmm. Leading by example.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the funny thing about that is that I look at, there's some filmmakers in traditional right now who, if they wanted to say, do the Louis C.K. thing and just say, you know what, I'm going to be 100% support of my fans, just go down that route, they could do it.
Of course. I would just take less money.
Not even in some cases, though. Like I would say, like for example, like I would say like Wes Anderson. If he put a Kickstarter out, that Kickstarter would go nuts because it's like his movies don't cost so much to make. He has a fan base. He has a very dedicated fan base. Like guys like that could do it, but Wes Anderson's probably got such a cushy deal at Fox, so he has no reason to do that. They're established. They're okay. They can do it the way that they've done it, and they don't have to really worry about that. But for us, we don't have those cushy deals anywhere. So it's like, all right, well, we have to figure out what can we do? How can we make this? How do we get money for it? How do we build a fan base and all that without any of the sort of established support structures that have been around?
Right. Okay, one of the ways we allow your fans to reach out towards you with a question is something we like to call Tweet 5.
Okay.
T5, T5, T5 forever now.
Thank you, Dave Keckner. These will be 5 questions that in this case came through Twitter.
Okay.
They're this or that, Coke or Pepsi, no correct answer kind of questions, specifically designed for you. And it looks as though my wonderful computer has literally decided. It's all plugged in. The green lights are on. The little flashing lights are down below. It was just Steve Jobs from the grave saying, fuck you.
Yeah.
Little cat nap.
Oh, yeah, he loves to give you the finger.
Yeah.
From the beyond.
So this one comes to you from @Dan Esparza. Mm-hmm. This or that, Coke or Pepsi, no correct answer. Ready?
Yep.
Number 1, Dr. Horrible or Captain Hammer?
Ooh, Dr. Horrible.
Guitar Hero or Guitar Hero 2 or Portal 2?
Portal 2.
Star Wars or Star Trek?
Yeah. Gotta say Star Wars.
Canon or Nikon?
Canon.
Wide angle or zoom?
Wide angle.
You got 4 out of 5.
So close.
Yeah, damn it. We had cash prizes. It's a shame to see that not go your way.
Just shred them now that they're not going anywhere.
So when someone like Jon Favreau, who is an actor, writes his own thing with Swingers, creates his own universe within traditional media, finally gets his hand on a comic book movie like Iron Man, finds a way to reinvent that wheel by giving the comic book hero humanity and a sense of humor and that crazy charm from RDJ.
Yeah, oh, definitely.
And becomes the filmmaker of choice. What is it like for you to get a chance to work with someone like him as you did in Cowboys and Aliens?
It was mind blowing because we sort of act under the assumption that nobody in traditional really gives a shit about what we do. Like that's just sort of the way that we've sort of gone through it. You know, and this was like super cemented early on. Like I remember we got called in to to Imagine to do. They after we started doing YouTube stuff, and they're like, hey, we want to talk to you about something. I'm like, whoa, what could this be? You know, this could be a real interesting project. And the project,
Imagine.
It could be anything.
Brian
right?
Grazer's crazy hair.
And I don't think I can say what it is, but the project was, hey, we want you to make a style Bible, like a
Shooting style?
like a world building sort of Bible. There's we have this thing we're trying to adapt. There's tons of references in it. We want you to just make a document that lists all those references and explains them. It's like, wait, really? Like that's it? You want why? Why am I in this room? Why are you talking to us? It's like this has nothing to do with filmmaking at all. It's just we're kind of nerds, and that's the reason why I'm here.
The nerd world loves you.
And that was it.
We thought you could categorize.
We could categorize like Jane Goodall
Data.
And that was it. And we're like, really? That's it? And that was sort of our experience of interaction. So when Favreau was like, hey, do you want to just do this? One, he reached out to us. It wasn't the other way around. He reached out to us, which was like mind blowing. And then two, it's just like you can do whatever you want. As long as you have fun with it, as long as I can have some fun with it, carte blanche with this property. I'm like, this is nuts. First of all, I'm like, all right, okay, sure. And we went along with it. We had the opportunity to sit with him as he was color correcting Cowboys and Aliens in the final stages, and just sort of talking and chatting about what we might do, and we had some ideas and we kicked them around, and he was 100% down with everything. He's like, yeah, sure, sounds great, go for it. And we're like, okay, all right. So we had, it was crazy. It was the kind of thing where we put together the pitch, right? Okay, it'll be like a gunfight, it'll be like Cowboys, well, I'll have the wrist blaster, and I'll have difficulties like booting the firmware of it because everybody knows how that feels with technology. And we had this thing where we're like, okay, but he's got to come in on a chrome semi-truck. And we're like, we can't write this in the treatment because Universal's going to see this and be like, forget this. These guys are idiots, So we left it out entirely. We're like, it's going to be a cool gunfight. Blah, blah. And on the day of, we're like, okay. So he's like, how do I show up? How do we show up? It's like, all right, just hold this suitcase open and then close it. We're putting a giant chrome semi over here, and just trust us, it'll be really funny. He's like, okay, all right. So he was down for everything, which was really, really refreshing. It was really mind blowing that we were able to do that.
It's incredibly exciting.
It was,
in every way.
Yeah, and just a really down to earth, genuine guy. We got to sit down and just talk to him about film industry and his thoughts on that and where that world is going. And it's like, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about, and he's just an awesome guy to be.
Well, yeah, I mean that's why I prefaced it with how he came up, the level that he reached in traditional media. You guys came up on your own terms in every way, shape, or form outside of traditional media. You established millions of subscribers and followers in a way that any project would want to have. Talk about 1,000 devoted fans. So to have someone from that world come into your world and say, you can do whatever you want. I just want to.
No, absolutely.
I just want you guys to be a part of this. Yeah. That's a different moment for you. It's not one that you guys are sort of accustomed to.
No, not at all. I mean, again, I remember interactions on that level was. Prior to that, it was like, oh my gosh, we did like a little funny joke video. It's not even on YouTube. It was just like a promotional press video for Machete when it came out, Robert Rodriguez Machete. And it was like, we had 10 minutes after one of their press junkets, we could use them. Okay, we're gonna do this, and here, Michelle, hold this, and okay, Danny Trejo, stand over here. And it was just like such a okay, thanks so much, guys. We got a guy here. And
rushed
like,
and
it was rushed, and we were so
didn't feel respected and revered.
Bow down to these guys and quickly just do our little stupid shitty thing and get out of here. Yeah, it's a total different change of tone to have the director of the film come around and be like, hey, whatever you guys want to do, and hey, you got me for this afternoon. Right. It's like, okay, well, we've at least something has changed from point A to point B.
Well, here's another thing I think your fans may not know or are interested in is from pitch to post. Now that you've got the series going, but you still have this interest of putting out regular videos like the new
or more regular at least. Yeah. So
Yeah.
So you know what we've realized is that so we were doing one a week for
Right.
2 years, 3 years, and it's
Idiots.
killer.
Yeah.
Well, here's the biggest problem with doing one a week is that I think that we got to a point where we pushed, just personally, myself pushed as far as we could go within what our abilities are for that 1 week schedule, as far as we could go technically, as far as we could go storytelling wise, without killing ourselves. And we were on, like, I think for 2 years straight, Brandon and I were pulling an all-nighter every week just to get something finished. And then we'd have a day where we would just be zombified out, and that was it. And like, this is non-stop, like to the point now where I have a superpower where I can fall asleep within 10 seconds. If I close my eyes, I'll fall asleep within 10 seconds.
But you also have to have stayed up 36 hours.
No, it's great. See, that's what you get though. That's the superpower side of it.
So you could do it right now.
I could, yeah. I won't. I have respect for this show. I won't. But
I think it's something everybody wants to see.
But also, let me just jump in. Think about what you forced yourselves to do in those 2 years.
yeah.
Because the fruit of your labor was you got the experience.
Yeah.
You
It
put
was
in
like
your
a sort of-
10,000 hours.
Yeah, it was.
You
It was
forced yourself to become better, more proficient, and you don't have the audience today without having given them
No,
that
absolutely not.
regular.
But to keep that going is the
Impossible.
question now. Because realistically, we can't do this. I can't do this till the day I die. Just be putting out 1 week and
You're not going to be in your 20s forever. Kid.
no, exactly. And as weird as it sounds, I start to feel that. I started to feel that year 2, and now even more so, where it's like I just can't keep up with that anymore. Like I've definitely felt myself get to a point where I'm like, you know what? It's just I'm not as young as I used to be, and I just can't pull this off. So I think we have to change the schedule of it somehow. And I think that what we've settled on is the idea of like kind of like how the South Park guys do it, which is like it's seasons. It's here's the time period that we're on, and then we're off, and then we're in production, and then on, off. But the idea is that to do that in conjunction with other long form series, other types of things that we may have varying degrees of creative involvement with.
Right.
But to just get as much going and plates spinning as possible while still having a life outside of doing this, which is a very difficult thing to do.
So
having a life.
for a new short film,
Yeah.
Last Cat Alive,
Oh yeah.
if you will, where do some of these ideas come from? Are they just born on the moment in case of the greatest shot to the nuts came from, I'm assuming, the release of Superman?
Yeah, I think the original trailer, and that was more of a Brandon project. But I remember we were talking about like, what if we had a thing that was just ultimate nut shots? Like you see nut shots online. Like what's the logical extension of that? It's like, well, you have to go into the sun because that's it. Like that's as far as you can go. And then now it's in conjunction. Then the Superman trailer came out. Like and he put that one together. For the cat one, it comes from everywhere. It comes from just kicking ideas around. It comes from in the shower, in the car. It's a very iterative process. So the cat one is directed by my brother, and I helped him out on that one. But a lot of the other videos, it'll start somewhere, and then where it ends up after much kicking around is somewhere completely different. And then by the time you get on set, it's then shifted around and messed around with, because you're like, oh, what if we did this? And oh, what if we changed this ending? And I remember the biggest one is there's one where I skydive outside of our loft. And the ending for that one was we just had no ending for it. And the endings are really important for these sort of short form things because it's like, oh, this is something interesting, here's the thing, and it's not so much a punchline, but it is the sort of
Payoff.
Payoff, it's the payoff. And so it's the reason why you will send it to your friend, because if it's a good payoff, you'll send it off.
Or in your young filmmaking career, Sam, it was known as the payload.
That's true. That's the money.
Jamie, didn't The Simpsons prove the importance of football to the groin?
Yes, that was on Hans Moleman's
Yes, well
movie.
yeah.
We had no idea what the ending was supposed to be. It was 4 a.m. the day right before we were going to put it out. And we're like, okay, so I jump off, I go to the grocery store, I look ridiculous. What do I do? It's like, okay, how's this? This is all this effort to go to the grocery store, very basic. I'll just trip and fall on the stairs and smash all the eggs that I bought. That's it. We happened to have the eggs because I did buy eggs at that grocery store that day, and we were finishing it off. And we're like, okay, let's go do it. So that's 4:30 a.m. in the stairwell outside of where we were working, and I just go up and I just eat shit and just oh no, and that's it. And it's like, okay. And it was enough of a button, enough of a sort of payoff for that it made sense. It made sense in retrospect, because then the humor of it is, oh, it's all this effort to get something so mundane, and then despite all that effort, something mundane ruins it all. You know, like that. It's in retrospect, it's very analytically understandable, but at the time, it was just like, I don't know, what can we do? You know, just trying to, off the seat of our pants, try to figure it out. You know.
Desperation being the mother of invention.
Desperation,
yet again.
yes. Yeah, exactly. Last minute panic.
Are you constantly pitched ideas? Is there, obviously you mentioned writers for the web series, but are there a team of writers now working within the compound?
Within the compound, it's not really. It's just everybody kind of throws stuff around. You know, there's not like any, and I guess writing is kind of a grandiose way of describing the short stuff. Because the short stuff doesn't have a lot of writing done to it at all, if at all. It's very much
storyboard.
Like, not even that. It's if the most complex we'll do like a video storyboard. We'll take like a handy cam, the short camera, and just do like okay, oh, this shot jumps over here, and then we cut it together quickly and be like, oh, okay, tomorrow when we actually do shoot this, let's make sure to get this angle, and this angle's important, and this moment's kind of weird, so let's change it like that. That's probably as complex as we get.
Well, like the one with Ms. Grimes that we referred to.
Yeah, exactly.
Seemed so well choreographed.
So that one was, we did a video storyboard with myself and Matt, Matt playing the role of Matt, who was significantly taller and heavier than Sinead Grimes.
Weird, strange.
Shocking, I know.
Yeah.
But
same leather skirt, I hope?
He couldn't fit into it. He actually stretched out a little bit, so we had to, he could probably get one leg through it. That was actually the extent, so the rest of it
Still
was just...
sexy.
Still sexy, yeah, in a different way. Yeah, in a way that other bits of YouTube might find attractive. So yeah, that one was like, we kind of had an idea of where the cameras would go, but that was it. It was very much like, okay, this can come out. The outline is very much, they come out, bad guys show up, and then I get the girl taken away from me by a much crazier dude.
My favorite part of the whole thing is, I'm sure other people might agree, is you have a new visual gag that there are other visual gags within it that are reminiscent of certain things, but also incredibly fun and engaging, and have your signature all over them. But your character crying was and I thought, we've seen the Albert Brooks in broadcast news sweating, and sure enough, he had little tubes in his hair that was dripping down more sweat than normal. But not to be a spoiler alert, but your character weeps in a way that I'm just going to say we've not seen as a visual gag. How early on in the creative process did that gag?
I think that was one Brandon's idea. That was early on where we were like, okay, and then the end, I lose a girl and I cry. And like, oh no, it can't be that. It's got to be. I think we were looking at like Looney Tunes-esque, sort of animation-esque, like how crazy.
Only bugs
could do
this
that.
big.
And we had 2 quarter-inch like hoses that were connected to my glasses and run up over and perched on here, connected to the hose. And then the timing of it was difficult because the hose is a certain length, so it was just like they would turn it on.
So you're using practical effects.
Yeah, that was completely.
See, I watched that, being a fan of your work, and immediately assumed these are not practical effects.
I think that's what we get. That's what's kind of fun because we love practical effects because they're just fun to do.
Sure.
So, and they look perfect because they're practical. So when we do that, it's funny because the people who think that they're visual, it's in a weird way, it helps us, our reputation, because then they think, wow, how did they do that? That's so good. And it's like, yeah, it's real, but okay.
They didn't really set that dude on fire, again, coming back to
the fire thing. Well, there was one where I set my hands on fire, and everyone was like, that was a real thing. Our friend Eric, he runs a sort of a stunt team called Action Factory, they have a gel that they put on, and it'll protect you from fire.
My stunt double was covered in that gel.
Right, exactly. So they lit my hands on fire, and I was like, playing around on fire. And we had comments in the video being like, you know what, it wouldn't give off that much light.
Yeah.
That's too unrealistic.
Peaking too high.
Yeah, too much. They should have toned that back. And it's like, all right, okay, it is real, And the funny thing about that one was we said, if we could do that and we put that as our demo reel, we would be all working at Weta or ILM. Like, they would hire us in an instant. They'd be like, oh my gosh, that's perfect. You guys are hired instantly, But yeah, we love doing practical effects. And that was fun because, there's a hose and they turned it on, and I had about like 2.5 seconds before the water would reach. So I had to kind of, okay, 1,001, 1,002, like time it out.
Sure.
And get soaked in the process, but that was fun.
Bob Fosse, I believe, worked the same way. Didn't he? Or was he one Mississippi? I think he was one Mississippi. All right, it's time to test your skill, sir. Okay. You're enjoying your time on Twitter. You mentioned the importance of gathering that
Just talking to people, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
The actual close-knit experience. It's time to play the game that swept the nation. It's called Who Tweeted?
Celebrities have so much to say.
Who tweeted?
Is the game we're gonna play.
Our own Sam Levine will host once again today's version of Who Tweeted, brought to you by Dr. Chen's Pancakes. Dr. Chen's Pancakes aren't just fluffy and delicious, they're healthy. Dr. Chen's Pancakes.
And full of real bits of Dr. Chen. I like that you use the past tense. The game has swept the nation.
Yes.
We're no longer sweeping.
No.
It happened.
Yeah.
We swept.
You may have missed it.
Yeah.
And here it is. Are you familiar with how to play the game?
More or less. But
Okay, then I'll
give me a quick
recap it
refresher.
real quick for you. So, one at a time, I'll read a series of 8 tweets. They were each authored by either Tyra, Paris, or Bieber. At any point when I read a tweet that you feel you know who wrote it, you ring in by saying your own name. I will point to you. You'll have 3 seconds to say, again, either Tyra, Paris, or Bieber. Ring in, you get it right, you get yourself 5 points.
Okay.
Ring in, you get it wrong, you lose 3.
Okay.
Penalty for incorrect.
At the end of 8 tweets, unless there's a tie, the winner will be walking away with this
Crisp.
crisp
Andrew Jackson.
Ish.
portrait
that
of
is still
Peter
drunk, by
Gammons.
the way.
He is definitely drunk, and
Yeah.
Jimmy Carter's passed out on the couch.
All right.
Nice reference.
Just for you.
You know what I'm thinking of now is the Jimmy Carter is smarter, but yeah,
Oh,
that
yeah.
thing. Sorry, Simpsons.
No, please.
Simpsons.
Anytime you two
Simpsons
can do
did
the
it.
Simpsons dance.
Are you ready to play, Freddie?
Ready
Are
to
you
go.
ready to play, Kevin?
Yes.
Clean game, here we go. Who tweeted? Tweet number 1.
Did you tell Freddie how to ring in?
By saying my name.
Oh, perfect.
We're
Thank
good,
you.
we're good.
I went to the Bahamas during that.
Calm before the storm. Chilling in my hotel room. Ordered room service and watching Apple TV. Relaxing before the weekend. Can't wait.
Kevin
Freddie.
Paris. Ooh, I heard Freddie before I spoke, so I defer.
I would say Paris as well.
That is correct.
Oh, it's nice to know I was right, even if I don't get the points.
No points for you.
All right. I
Tweet.
defer.
It was the
Number.
unadulterated enthusiasm for a period of time during the week when no work happens.
Aha.
He's thought this through.
Damn it.
Tweet
I'm
number
up against a master.
2.
Okay, all right.
Sometimes you just want to go to a comedy club and have a laugh.
Freddie. It's gotta be Tyra.
Gotta be. Bieber's never been to a comedy club. Wouldn't know what to do.
Was he even allowed in the comedy club?
That was Mr. Bieber.
No way! What was the whole thing?
Sorry. Sometimes you just want to go to a comedy club and have a laugh. No trouble, just want to laugh.
You know what is the no trouble side?
Sometimes it pays to let me get all the way through.
Like the tweets around it like didn't imply it. Like that
Yeah.
was it. That was like a standalone. Like it wasn't saying like he just went to a show or something was odd.
Maybe
yeah.
That
Jimmy
and it's
Masada
like-
made him post it. Yeah, that's some alien
Nice.
humor for you.
That in most comedy clubs I know of, you have to be 21, Bieber.
Yeah.
Well, Canadian comedy club.
He also probably
Go
came
right.
in with his leopard.
He came in with the pants and the hat. They wouldn't turn him away. Tweet number 3.
Freddie still had
overalls. The
plus
overalls.
2 to 0.
Lady eating bacon next to me.
Kevin, Tyra.
That is correct. But I just want to finish this.
Like a walk-off homer.
Lady eating bacon next to me. She just got up and left 2 pieces. Should I?
Oh, wow.
Ooh.
Oh, wow.
Let that be a lesson to you, kids. Finish your food if you're sitting near Tyra,
Oh, wow.
because she will reach over and take it.
Or ask her millions.
Or specifically lay the trap and then stand and wait
Yeah.
with your iPhone.
I want to see that Vine.
I like that. All right, tweet number 4.
Tweet number 4. We're getting up there.
Okay.
I love the palm trees in Beverly Hills.
Kevin Paris.
That is correct.
Commanding lead.
Commanding 10 to 2
Saying.
lead.
Okay.
Get on
All
board.
right.
Get on board.
Got to get in there and play, Freddie.
All right.
I really thought I was wrong as I was saying it, by the way.
Tweet number 5. Now let the fun begin. Hashtag weekend.
Freddie, Jesus, that's so fucking lame.
Please.
Oh no!
What? What is this obsession with weekends with these people?
Bieber!
Oh my God,
Bieber.
that's the lamest tweet.
It's
Read
all
that.
right.
Read
It's all
that.
right. It's all right. It's not over. It's not over.
Stupid.
It's not over.
Read
Not even
that
close.
fucking awful tweet again, please.
Now let the fun begin. Hashtag weekend.
And he's got 8 million followers?
At least. I think he's 12 or 13 now.
Yeah, you're right. It's
There's
double.
probably, and there's probably like 100,000 people being like, yeah, woo!
Retweeted that.
Yeah, I agree. This weekend's happening.
Total weekends.
All right.
Tweet number 6.
I thought I knew that guy.
It's all right. They say you are what you eat.
Kevin Bieber.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Finish it.
Therefore, I am BBQ and whipped cream.
Oh.
Oh, now it's very racist if I say
Now it's racist if I say anything.
Racist.
Freddie.
Well, no, unfortunately, he's already.
it's too
rang it.
late.
He's already gotten it
you
wrong.
can't
It's
get
all right
it.
though.
Okay.
It's all right. It's all right.
It's
We're down to the last 2.
Was it Tyra?
And it's only a 6-point. It was Tyra. There's only a 6-point gap here.
That's why there's racism.
That's.
Tweet number 7.
Okay.
Fact.
Ooh.
Kanye West's new album is the truth.
Freddie Bieber.
Gotta be.
We have got ourselves a game. That is correct. Ooh, it all comes down to the 8th and final tweet with a score of +7 to +4.
If I guess and am incorrect,
It is
it's a tie.
That is correct.
Yep.
Tweet number 8. Hey, Piers Morgan.
Where's the comma in that? Where's the comma? Is there a comma?
It's after Piers Morgan. Hey, Piers Morgan, comma. Miss you. Been a while since I last saw you. Look forward to seeing
Kevin
you.
Tyra.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a tie. That was Ms. Paris Hilton.
I just assumed it was her because that's the least logical possible. We have a tie.
We have a tie.
Piers
+4.
Morgan.
Tiebreaker.
Tiebreaker. It all comes down to this. Ring and get it right, you win. Ring and get it wrong, you lose. Just had an amazing deep tissue massage.
Freddie.
Feel.
Paris.
Ladies and gentlemen, your winner!
Come from behind victory. He was
behind victory.
He was out
That
first.
is
Please
hard-earned.
take your prize.
That is hard-earned.
Sam Levine
That
does
is
it
how you
again.
play Who Tweeted. Well done.
Sammy,
Well done.
nice game, nice round.
Celebrities have so much to say.
Who tweeted?
Is the game that we just played.
I know, that's just
Barbecue
so
with-
For
fantastic.
the record, it's whipped cream.
Ooh.
WHIP, not whipped cream.
No.
But whipped cream.
Yeah. Go to the site, by the way, KevinPollockChatShow.com. Play the game with Sammy in the room, in one
Yeah.
of the rooms dedicated to the game.
That's what it's there for.
Win a T-shirt, you son of a bitch. It's not possible. Freddie, that was fantastic.
That was close.
Yeah.
I was sweating.
I honestly thought that I had it sewn up. I got a little too confident. I did want to ask, I think, a little bit more on the pitch to post,
Yeah.
if you wouldn't mind.
No, of course.
So you've got a group of people that work within the compound. There's a smaller group. Your partners from the beginning. Everyone's kind of, anyone can pitch an idea, is the sense that I'm getting.
Yeah.
Your brother has his own channel
Yeah.
at this point?
Yeah, he does. He does a cooking show as well.
I'll say.
Yeah. Despite not cooking at all for the apartment, I live with him. He doesn't cook at all. Just saying. Like, if you have a cooking show, I
Refuses to cook?
I don't know. It could be a number of things. I think he's just lazy. To be honest.
Let's chalk it up to that.
Just saying.
So he must pitch you ideas often, occasionally.
Well, he's busy with his own stuff too.
Right.
You know? Everyone's kind of busy with their own thing.
So in the case of the last
Yeah.
cat alive,
Well, he had a song that because he's a musician as well, and he had a song, and he had this idea for a music video. That was the long and short of it. Was that? He's like, hey, I got this piece, and it's done, and I think there could be a cool music video for it, and here's the idea. I'm like, all right, let's do it.
so is it shot as this will be a music video for the song, or is it shot this will also be a great video for the channel?
Well, kind of both.
Yeah.
You know, because you know where it's going, so it's not like a true, band performance type of music video. It is kind of a short film with a kick and soundtrack is kind of the way it kind of ends up being,
Right. And once again, you don't have MTV, or they don't even do music videos anymore.
No,
But somebody,
no.
some entity
I
breathing
remember
down
we
your neck.
pitched a reality show to MTV.
Did you?
Brandon and I did way back.
And
How way back? Because this all started in 2010, by the way.
it was a couple years ago. And they said, this sounds great, except it won't appeal to our audience of 16-year-old girls.
Yeah, what would you know?
Nothing, absolutely nothing about 16-year-old girls and their tastes and habits.
Right.
Like, we blow shit up. So if you guys want that,
Yeah.
right over here. But other than that,
Yeah.
thanks.
Here,
I'll grab a
at
water
Blow
on
Shit
my
Up
way out.
Corner. Okay, so pitch, he says, I've got the thing. In that case, it's a music video for a song. In the case of Ms. Grimes, you've got sort of a classic, it's more your signature, I think, of storytelling. How much time, do they all earmark different amounts of time? Do you have it down to, look, we always only...
So in general,
Right.
it'll be 1 day to shoot.
Okay.
As kind of the
That's the
overall.
rule?
It's not so much the rule, it just ends up being that way because we have very little patience for shooting stuff. When we're on set, we're very fast, especially for this stuff. It's just like, go over here, get the camera, get over there. Like for example, knowing the tool sets, we might not bring a tripod because we know if we hold it steady enough, you can stabilize that later and it'll be good. That's fine. You'll need to lug a tripod, set it up.
Shot
level
list?
it. No. Just a general idea of what the flow is. We shoot chronologically and we shoot single camera, but the camera just runs all over the place. And it's just bits that we know that we need to grab. And in that sort of style, it keeps the pace very much sort of at a very high fever pitch, and it's 1 day maximum. And generally average, I would say probably about anywhere from 3 to 6 hours. Just the shooting side of it.
On average, how many camera setups are you doing in that time?
Camera setups. If you consider moving the cameras one, quite a bit. I mean, I can't, but like at the same time, like, is it really that much to say, okay, punch the guy, all right, hold on, get over here, hold it there, all right, punch him again, boom, got it, move on. Like that doesn't take, it's not as, when you're talking about like, film and television camera setups, it's a whole lighting stuff, very, very little lighting done generally.
Right.
If it's outside, you got a bounce board, and that's it. If it's inside, generally the lighting setup will sit and just, that'll be it for the.
And are you thinking as you're shooting, this is really going to take shape in post?
It's a mix, because a lot of times you're shooting it so it's so chopped up that you're like, okay, I know this action beat will be cool because there's a cool fall here and there's an interesting shot here, and I think when they put it together, it'll be good. Like, so the one video we did called "Whose Gun Is It Anyway," which is like I get robbed and we hand to hand with one of my friends, and then the gun trades back and forth between us. That one was like one move at a time, and we had a basic flow for it, but it was like, okay, grab, okay, good, got it. The camera moves. Do it again. Okay, we got this piece, and then sort of just cut it together. So that one was very much completely shaped by the editing and post. And once we get to the post process, the editing takes generally a day, and then everything else takes the rest of the time. So over the course of a week, it would be sound, music. We do a color correction, we do sound effects, and put it all together.
So are you in trouble when they say we need you to take more time? You have more time. You have the luxury of time. Is that an issue for you?
Not necessarily. I think a lot of times we'll get to the point where we have some more time on it, so we can just tweak a little bit more than we would otherwise, or we don't have to shoot everything in a day. We might get pieces later because it's just more convenient that way. But generally, we fill up the time that we have.
And how important, or has your enjoyment, artistic eye, now about composition? In other words, there's a beautiful shot. I mean, there always is, but there's one that comes to mind once again with Ms. Grimes, when the guy has the shoulder-mounted grenade launcher. Or what would you call that?
Rocket-propelled
Sure.
grenade, yeah, sure.
Who shoots it in between you. There's almost a dance going on throughout that. But the composition and the angle was such that you were able to include all the elements.
Right.
Almost like a master.
Yeah.
Or an actual master. And I'm wondering how, when I ask about shot lists, when I ask about storyboarding.
So there'll be specific ones in our heads. We'll be like, okay, this is a cool moment, and this cool moment is best served with this. And so those shots in our heads sort of become anchor points for those moments in action where it's like, okay, how do you get to it and how do you get out of that?
Right.
So there's bits from season 2 that we've shot where there's a hand-to-hand fight scene in a warehouse, and there's one bit where it's like, okay, she blocks a kick, and okay, this is a moment, and here's how we get to that, and we're going to get this, and that's probably covered even heavier because we know that that's a significant point. It's like a bullet point, it's like a period in a sentence. It's like, okay, there, definitive moment in this scene. So we'll build sometimes around those sort of definitive visual compositionally sort of interesting bits
Right.
during an action sequence.
And the one that I'm referring to that you
Yeah.
know, it seems like the composition is so specific, but also a part of what's happening within that composition is only going to be executed in post.
Yeah, yeah,
So it is framing and position and
Yeah.
choreography.
yeah.
How I need another take, perfectionist are you in those larger set piece moments?
Not so much. We generally will not go above 3 or 4 takes. And the reason why is in those cases, a lot of times we'll be getting the bits that we need that we can stitch together. So let's say it's a timing specific one. Let's say he needs to shoot it and then he gets shot. So if we have the timing right in one take of him shooting and get shot, we can take that portion of that shot and then put it and apply it to the timing where the dance sequence was correct and the other bit was correct. So that way you don't have to sit there forever and ever and ever and get the exact same thing every single time. I think that's one of the biggest benefits of having gone through this sort of visual effects route first before coming in is you see the shortcuts and you know a lot. The joke in Hollywood is like, oh, fix it in post, but when you know exactly what the fix it in post process entails, you know when you need to take another take, and you know when you can say, you know what, this is easy, I can do this myself. Let's move on. There's that give and take where you want to make sure momentum is up on the set. It's such an interesting sort of set dynamic sometimes that we start to experience, where it's like making sure momentum is up, making sure that there's energy. It translates so much into the final product. And there's so many sets you go to where it's like you go and then it's like, pff, sit down, everyone's just hanging out, and okay, let's go shoot this. And everything's lackadaisical and everything kind of just takes forever to shoot. And we generally don't have a lot of patience for that kind of stuff. So
I notice also a lot of the videos are not dialogue heavy.
Yeah, there's sort of two reasons for that. One is I don't consider myself like a very good actor, so to speak, compared to like my brother takes it on as a full-on craft. And there's other people who work on it. And then I think acting especially film acting, it's the hardest job that you can do, I think, because it requires such a strange mentality and mental focus to be able to like be emotionally honest in a room full of people and lights all kind of staring at you and everyone's waiting for you to hurry up so they can get to the lunch break. And
you can always see a Teamster somewhere.
Yeah, there's someone there
within your vision range.
There's a guy sitting in the corner reading the newspaper.
Couldn't be less interested in what you're doing.
Exactly. So. That's hard. Like that requires such concentration and focus in something that I don't have. But I can be kind of like it's not having to speak, more pantomime-y, I guess, is one way of going at it. A little more physical. I think that's for me at least something that I can do better than actual capital A acting. So the side effect that we found was interesting was that when you don't have a lot of dialogue, you get a lot more international viewers because nobody's missing a joke because it's in English, but everyone understands, when I fall or when I juggle a magazine trying to put it in my gun because I'm a idiot.
the great comedy gags and stunt gags.
Yeah.
The classics of the
the
20s and 30s.
Yeah. It's funny because we do stuff sometimes where it is like almost like sort of Keaton-esque sort of like there's one in the video called Gamer Commute where I cross a road and I like here's a car, and I duck under one and that and I can do that without having to put myself in immediate physical peril because we're stitching pieces of it together.
Yeah, that house frame really did fall on.
Exactly, but see, and so in a weird way, I guess this sort of philosophically is an interesting point, right? Because in a weird way, I don't put myself in that kind of danger. I cross the road, but it looks like, for all intents and purposes, I did put myself in that kind of danger. Is it less real? In a way it is, but I think at the same time, if the effect is photographically the exact same, it's sort of a weird in-between between like authentic and fabricated, right?
Well, it's the same thing with the fire. We're talking about an audience that wants to guess and figure out the puzzle. Was the fire real or not?
Yeah.
So as opposed to, well, if it's not real, fuck it, I don't care what he's doing.
Yeah. There's something interesting in that question. I think that's something with visual effects, because visual effects for me is a lot like magic tricks. It's a question of like, how did this happen? How did they do that? It's almost a sort of level of showmanship and misdirection that goes into it. And that process of trying to figure out what in front of you, is it real or not, and how this happened and how it could be manifested in that way, I think is like a fundamental thing that human beings like to do. It's a sort of a fun brain teaser exercise that I think is sort of very rewarding to both observe and try and figure out.
Well, let me ask you this. There's a movie that came out recently that I think I've expressed my lack of joy for it. Now You See Me, Now You're Bored, I think it's called, where they use actual magic at times, and then other times they're using CGI and what have you.
Yeah.
And for me, what took me out of the film almost instantly was the moment they went from manipulation and practical to large stunts
Yeah.
and floating things.
Yeah.
I became emotionally detached,
Yeah.
knowing that it was in fact done in post.
Yeah, I think that's what's so interesting about like street magic. Is just so much more intimate, so much close up, and why you sort of see a decline in stage magic.
Even though it's just as much horseshit as CGI.
Oh yeah. It's the same level of it, you know.
But
like-
it's personal performance and
you know.
and misdirection and manipulation.
And I think it's also when CGI oversteps its bounds, when it creates something that is visually impossible, that like, when it really gets to the point where you're like, there's even no way that they could do this, even if they had the most complex, you know, David Copperfield-esque thing going on in the background. There's no way what in front of me could possibly happen. is
Ang
when you lose
Lee's Hulk,
it. Yeah.
when
argument
he's
was like,
swinging the tank, that very
Although
first time, right? Am I
yeah,
wrong?
but my favorite part about that sequence, which everybody misses, is when Hulk gets on top of the tank and pulls it up, he nuts himself with the turret of the tank. Nobody sees this. Everybody slags on that movie, but everyone misses the funniest nut shot.
Does he
in
have an
cinematic-
expression on his face that
Yes.
sells the bit?
Yes, he does.
How did we miss this?
What you're not noticing,
Yeah.
because they never point this out,
Hulk wears a cup?
is that when Bruce Banner becomes Hulk, his junk stays the same size. It does not Hulk with him. So he really had to hit a very specific spot to get nutted by the tank.
I'm not kidding, by the way. You can pull this video up. It's on YouTube. He pulls into it and he goes, oh, like he nuts himself. And then the scene continues. It's like some CGI artist there is laughing.
Oh, sure.
Like just sitting there like, nobody has picked up that I made Hulk nut himself in this scene
Yeah.
with the tank.
Well, by the way, thank you for caring enough to create that gag, right? Because the rest of the time, I'm watching that was that first sort of crossover where you start to fade away from the
Yeah.
experience
Yeah.
because, oh, well,
Yeah. It's just computers.
Yeah.
I felt the same way with the new Superman movie. Because there's a certain point where there's a lot of fight scenes and they happen at superhuman speed and it's just everyone's getting punched through buildings, floors, glass. Every man-made building material available gets punched or someone is punched through at some point in the movie. It's actually sort of an exploration of architectural materials and how they deteriorate under force, if you looked at it that way. But at a certain point, it's just like I'm just watching a whole bunch of computers calculate blurry stuff flying all over the place. And you sort of lose it a little bit,
Right.
You know?
and you're going to have to deal with that and walk with that yourself as you continue.
But I think the key is to just be do it as practically as you can whenever you can. You know, I think that's really the sort of way to look at it. And for us, a lot of our quote unquote effects that people are like, wow, was that CGI? Or how'd you get the plane and that plane looks so good? It's sort of very old school, you know, well, we found a plane in the right lighting conditions at the right angle and we shot it, and that's the real plane that we're manipulating. So it's like starting from a point, with visual effects, starting from a point of realism, and then going from there, I think yields a much more photographically and interesting result, and it's much more believable because it's not like a from the ground up rendered plane. It is, I took a camera and I shot a plane, and that's the image that we're using instead of anything else.
Well, I'm glad we got to this because it's part of what you're doing that's even more miraculous to the fans standing on the sidelines. Because Chris Nolan feels the same way about in the Batman movies, but takes $150 million to shoot the film with practically and using physically a 18-wheeler flipping over in the middle of the road.
But see, now here's the thing, right? So I totally agree with that mindset of like when you can do it like that. But there's so many other things that go into that effect. So if you break down that 18-wheeler sequence, I think one of my biggest criticisms of it is that the flip happens and it's a low tracking shot that's running towards it. But the one thing that you miss is there's no sense of scale there. Because, and by virtue of the fact that like a lot of people, even talking to them, they're like, yeah, wasn't that like CG or wasn't that a model? Like, no, they did it for real. It's like, well, if you do it for real and it doesn't come across as you did it for real, then that's a problem. You know? So, you know, how can we tell scale? Maybe if there's cars in the foreground, there's cars next to it, if there's people standing, you know, it's just some way of like visually saying, okay, this is huge. This thing's going up, you know, 30, 40 feet in the air. But if you don't have that sense of scale, it's like everything in terms of getting an effect across, it's all the pieces are important for that, you know. And there's times when you can. It's not even like it's. I say it like this. It's almost like you can get away with doing it in the computer by knowing which bit is important that needs to be seen and which bit is not important but can be abstracted in a sort of CG form. But here's the real bit, and right after that, here's a quick shot. But this one's completely fake. But then we tie it back in with a real shot. You know, and I think the guy who's like the master of this is like Michel Gondry, the guy that's a music video director, and he did Eternal Sunshine. And there's so many sequences in Eternal Sunshine where it's like he's mixing together effortlessly stuff that's done in CG, stuff that's done with body doubles and old school Hollywood gags. Like there's one sequence where Jim Carrey runs through the house and he's chasing after his girlfriend, and she turns around the corner, and then he looks over, and there she is over on the other side of the room, and he runs over to there, and it's all one take. And then the way they did it was a mix of like there's a body double here, and there's a trap door for her, and then the last person. It's just everything is mixed together in a way that's like, oh, okay, well that's a mastery of the visual medium. That's understanding what you can get away with in CG and what you have to and should be doing practically.
Well, again, I love that we got to a point where I find it educational, and hopefully your fans as well, that you think in those terms.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it's
of using
old
school gags and tactics and blending them with everything new.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it's just more fun doing it that way too.
That's pretty super fantastic. I want you to start to prepare your Larry King game, sir. That'll be your camera when you're ready.
All right.
I'll go over the rules again if you'd like.
Okay.
I'm just looking for that buffer moment where Larry goes to the phones. And before he goes to the phones, he might look into camera and share something about himself.
Okay.
That nobody, and I mean nobody, needs to know.
Okay.
So
I'm gonna try not to crack up during this. So bad that.
No, it's okay. There's no wrong way to do this, except a few times we've had guests not understand one aspect, which is you're doing Larry sharing something about Larry. Mm-hmm. You're not ever sharing something actually about yourself.
Right.
We're trying to make fun of Larry. Please.
Right.
Let's be clear.
Okay.
All right. When you're ready, sir. There's your camera.
Okay. Here we go.
Mm-hmm. Take your time.
This morning, during my usual bowel movement, something popped in my right eye, and I'm losing vision on this side of the thing here, and I just I don't know. I think I should see a doctor about it. Yakima, Washington. What do you got?
Nice. He popped an eye while pooping.
Yep.
I think is what we take away from that particular one.
Pushed a little too hard, gave himself a stroke.
Yeah.
It happens to the best of us.
It does. Every now and then you pop one out, literally. Freddie, can't thank you enough.
Thank you very much for having me.
Honestly and truly.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
It means a lot to me, and I'm so excited for your success and for your willingness to share your insight and journey thus far. And we're going to obviously continue to watch and enjoy and celebrate the hell out of it as you continue to move forward.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Man. All right, sit there uncomfortably for 60 seconds or so while I wrap things up here. We may or may not have a live show next Sunday. Right now, that's none of your goddamn business. Here in the room, I want to thank our very own Dr. Chen, evil on occasion, Dr. Chen, Sammy, quick
I don't think I could ever see Kenny
Levine.
Being mean to anything.
I didn't say mean.
I saw him punch a baby. What are you talking about?
If I may, on Kenny's behalf, baby had it coming.
Yeah, no, the baby was a little asshole, but still. Kenny had the reach.
One of our favorite things we just discovered recently, Jamie. Who was it that told us that? Was it Farrelly? Farrelly on the show told us that Bill Murray could be a little tough on kids because he's just honest with them and said to the 7-year-old girl, "You're being a fucking asshole." I thought that was spectacular.
And he's Bill Murray. He can do no wrong.
Jamie, good luck tonight getting through the final episode of this season's Mad Men, knowing that there's only one season remaining. We go out there on the outer portion of the studio to the greatest intern that ever lived, mainly because he, I believe, will not ever sue us. And that is David Mandel.
We got to get him on camera dancing. Have you seen him dance? Boy, he can dance.
There's the threat for next show.
He can dance.
Don't even book a guest. Just that for 90 minutes.
Just that for 90 minutes.
We would
For
probably
90 minutes to public domain songs.
We'll get the most viewers ever.
To Charleston.
Yeah.
The Charleston.
Go ahead and put up our last second replacement for makeup on the board here so I can say her name correctly. She was very kind. Our own Angie Johnson, filling in for our own Samantha Ward, was kind enough as we changed the time to get us Sonia. I wanted to say, was makeup, yeah. Thank you, Sonia. I wanted to say Cabrera. It's close to Cabrera.
She left, so
Long gone.
Yeah.
And we'll never see this. Let's be clear.
probably not.
No. Josh, Jason, and Justin, the 3 J's of Jew. What?
Not a single.
Not a single Jew among
Not a
them,
single
I know.
Jew among.
No, but Negro will be like, I'm a quarter Jewish.
Quarter Jew at Hanukkah.
I don't care.
I don't know why I gave Josh Twitter voice.
Yeah, what was that? All right. Tune in and write to us at contact@kevinpollakchatro.com. Again,
Still laughing at now you see me, now you're bored.
now you see me, now you're
I
bored.
don't know why that made me laugh. That's the first
The
time I
working
heard you say
title, by
that.
the way, was Now You See Me, Now You Wish You Hadn't. So let's nice to know both are funny and both work. Write to us at contact@kevinpollakchatro and vote which title works best for you. And we'll post the numbers in the coming shows. Well, it looks like we're going to do some live shows that we've been threatening to. The next one might be in the Los Angeles greater area on Monday, July 15th. We'll keep you posted on that. Follow on the Twitter. At F. Wong, I believe.
That's it?
Is our guess, which was posted in the lower thirds in case you missed. Those of you listening, they can't possibly hear the lower thirds.
No, you missed a lot today if you only listened to these.
Yeah.
Got to be honest.
Tune in, join us live, you son of a bitches, if you dare. Until next time, Lane Ewing, our social media maven as well. Almost forgot. There's always somebody.
It's a well-oiled
She
machine.
was on double duty today. She was giving me stuff.
Fitzinder?
Fitzinder.
All right. Till next time, and as always, fuck, we're just about to get another 2-hour mark for once. Get out of my face. Okay.